Hello everyone, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 18, The Geekinators, a Terminator podcast brought to you by the Tree of Geek. Your hosts that I will introduce to you now is Joshua and the H-Train Michael. Joshua, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. What about you, Michael? You little girly man, how are you doing? Jeez, man, shouldn't have wore a tank top. I'm doing fine. That's good. You guys couldn't pay me for any more, so I'm going to leave. Goodbye. Good luck. Hello, everybody. Like he said, we're at another episode of The Tree of Geek. This one is on the Terminator franchise. Are you excited? Because I'm normally excited, but I want to make sure you're just as excited as I am.
So I wasn't excited at first, but then as I got rewatching these movies, I got more and more excited to do this.
Were you more excited to watch these, the Diehards, or the Lethal Weapons?
The Diehards.
Okay, I can go with that. That tracks for you.
But after watching them all, if I had to pick a franchise to go back and rewatch, it would probably be Terminator.
That also tracks as well.
Good.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just roll right on to what is new in your world of geek. That's what we do here. We like to talk about what's new. Now, precursor to all this, by the time this episode comes out, we're doing a lot of wrangling and jangling. There's going to be hopefully a fantastic Wolverine and Deadpool episode before this, but we're just going to act like we're time travelers, you know, from the future resistance.
Yes, so based on our recording schedule, on average, when we record, we can expect that episode to come out about 4 weeks, about a month afterwards. So some of the things
we're already dated.
Yeah, some of the things we might say, you're going to say, wow, that's old, but get over it.
Or you're one of those people that stay away from the internet and are like, oh, I didn't know. I'm still reading my really old Starlog magazines. So,
well, there you go.
Or your old Wizard magazines, you're reading them over and over, like the ones I keep in my bathroom. But anyway, what is new in your world? What do you got?
Well, first and foremost, I am very sad to come out and say that Bob Newhart passed away.
Very funny guy.
94 years old, phenomenal actor, and he will absolutely be missed.
Bob Newhart show.
Elf,
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
So many different things he was on. He was just one of those, he was a weird kind of humor. It was kind of, not like super dry, but sort of sarcastic, but not in a mean sarcastic way. Just like oh, well, okay. And then it was just kind of that easy vibe. I'm like, damn, that dude just cut me down. He just did it without even, getting tired. It was pretty cool. He was a cool guy. Never heard any controversies about him or anything. Not that I dug in.
Not yet.
Yeah. Well, that's always after the fact, isn't it?
Yeah. Other than that, I am halfway through reading the book Dark Matter. I forget who it's by. I should have wrote that down, but I didn't. I'm sorry.
We're hacks and frauds.
We are. The book is amazing.
Wunderbar.
I love it. It's great. I'm about, like I said, halfway through it. Things are really picking up pace.
What came first, the book or the comic book? Or the TV show?
The book.
And then the comic book, and then
I didn't know there was a comic book, and then the TV show. But yeah, I absolutely plan on watching the show once I'm done reading the book. I want to see kind of how they track, From what a buddy of mine explained to me, it sounds like the show was pretty loyal to the book.
Now I feel like I am wrong about there being a comic book. I always thought there was a comic book of this.
I don't know.
No.
But I was told that...
I don't fact check things.
I guess the book, he wouldn't give anything away, thankfully. But I guess where the book ends is roughly where season 1 ends. So they might do a second season, or they might leave it as a standalone. I don't know.
Well, I saw season 1 and the beginning of season 2, and then they canceled it.
Oh, there was a season. Okay. See, I didn't know that. Okay. And all I know is Apple TV is like becoming the new sci-fi channel of our generation.
I just got rid of my PlayStation Network finally, and I might just pick up Apple TV to replace that $13.
Seriously, they're killing it with their sci-fi and just all their Apple produced shows are.
They look good.
They're so good. Like Silo.
Yeah.
Mythic Quest.
Right.
Severance. I mean, they're all fantastic.
Peacock's doing pretty good too. We're watching The Resort.
Peacock is.
And I'm like, wait, what?
How is that?
A lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Really?
I mean, at first I was like, is this just a White Lotus?
Okay.
But then this last episode that we watched right before you got here, I was like, what the hell just happened? Like, So, yeah. What? Anything else?
Oh, yeah, I got a few.
You got a few? Okay. Yeah. Well, listen, we don't have all night.
Just a few little mentions. The Penguin, it has its first episode air date now. It's September 8th. officially.
Huh, what?
It will be on HBO Max. I'm not super excited for this one, but I will check it out. If it's like a week to week, I'm definitely gonna wait till the whole season's out.
I'm like obligated to check it out. Like I
know.
have to.
Other than that,
but I don't wanna.
We've also got The Boys season 4. I have not watched it yet. I'm getting ready to. I'm gonna binge it once it's done. Are you watching?
I'm all caught up.
You are week to week.
Yeah, I didn't watch today's. I never watched because it's always on podcast day.
Oh, okay.
So I was watching it on Friday.
Not giving anything away. How do you feel it stacks up compared to the other seasons so far?
A little less.
Really?
I mean, there's been some, as usual, some crazy parts, but I feel like there's been more chitter chatter, less explosions, less action.
Okay.
I mean, Homeland. Obviously, this is, to me, more about Homelander than anybody. I feel like they just fall, and maybe this season just really emphasizing him, and last season did. I'm not saying that this season's shit, and I know a lot of people are shitting on it, but
they did say season 5 is the end, so there's only one season left after this.
Well, there's 3 episodes, I think, including today, till the end of this one. So I'm hoping that these last 3 episodes just go balls to the walls, or at least the last 2, because the last couple ones have had some stuff. I guess maybe I might be getting desensitized a bit to it. You're used to seeing the craziness.
Yeah,
maybe that's the issue. Maybe I'm the problem. I keep getting told it's me.
Did they, again, no details, because I'll watch it eventually, but did they wrap in Gen V? They did. Was it worth it?
It was very small and minimal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it wasn't anything huge.
That's a shame.
Well, I think they have to write around some things that happened because they were filming at the time of the actor's death.
Oh, so okay. Yeah.
Maybe they had to rework it. I don't know.
Well, another show coming into its final season, The Umbrella Academy, is dropping on August 8th.
Yep.
So my watch, it'll probably have already dropped by the time you listen to this. This is the final season, they said.
It shocks me that show not only is enjoyed by me, but my wife enjoys it too. I never would have thought that Emily would enjoy The Umbrella Academy, because it kind of looked like... well,
it's definitely like a very far-fetched sci-fi that you would think... Yeah, it's a classic comic book show,
but it's not like the Superman comic.
Exactly,
it's not X-Men. It's different.
Very. You have to completely set aside your logical mind.
Yeah, the guy that plays the time traveling kid and the last season when they were in the hotel, I enjoyed it. I was like digging it. The assassin lady that he keeps going back and forth with, and like him and Diego, hasn't that to do with the knives?
Yeah.
Like, dude, that chick that's in there is just phenomenal. I can't think of her name or the actress.
So I didn't like her when she first came into the show, but then the longer she stuck around, the more I did really start to like her.
She infests you. She like gets up in there. She's just an infectious kind of energy. And you know me, a performance, a movie, whatever it is, has to have energy. If it doesn't have energy and emotion,
after it drops, maybe we'll do an episode on the full Umbrella Academy as a whole, all 4 seasons.
Maybe. I need to check out like some of the comics.
So a buddy of mine at work, because of season 4 coming out, because of all the hypes, he decided, I'm going to go watch the first 3. I've never seen any of it. Let's see what this is all about. Right off the bat, he came in and said, so I watched it all over like a weekend. I'm like, okay, you need to get more hobbies. He just stayed in bed
with some chicken noodle soup and a blanket.
No, he works night shift there, so I'm guessing he just...
Oh, he did it at work. Okay,
watched it all night, yeah. But he was telling me that the first season he thought was amazing. He doesn't like time travel. He said he hates when it's always like, oh, save the future type stuff. But okay, it doesn't really revolve around that. But then he started picking out, like, in the first season, the glass eye was a dead end, and this was a dead end, and this was a dead end. I'm like, okay, well, that's besides the point. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many other things to pick up from it. He's like, yeah, season 2 was okay. Season 3 was horrible. He's like, so I don't know. I might watch season 4. I'm like, dude, you just watched all 3 seasons in a weekend. You kind of have to watch season 4 now.
It's hard for me to, one, really accept a lot of people's opinion to binge something over a weekend or even over a week.
Yeah.
Of that magnitude. Because what is that, like 10, is it like 30 episodes or something?
Yeah, somewhere around there. It's like 10 episodes a season, yeah.
You don't have time to digest.
Well, he did the same with Severance. He watched I think it's 8, maybe 10 episodes in a weekend. Came back and said, yeah, if you hadn't recommended it, I would have turned it off after like the first 2. He's like, I thought it was awful. He's like, now the last 2 episodes were phenomenal, but I thought it was awful.
Today's time, everybody's attention span now is so small.
Well, and it's not a show, especially Severance, that you can watch while doing something else. It deserves your attention.
Right.
I feel like the Umbrella Academy is kind of the same way. There's a lot of detail that if you aren't paying attention, you're not going to be able to follow everything.
Yeah, if you don't pay attention to season 1, episode 3, that by the time you get to episode 7, you're like, what is who is that person? And your buddy's like, didn't you remember that from like the third episode?
Well, and they do that.
You weren't paying attention. You're too busy
with
on
time
TikTok.
travel. With time travel, they do a lot of callbacks like that.
Yeah.
But whatever. The whole season drops August 8th. I am looking forward to it. I'm absolutely going to watch it. It's on my list to watch. I don't know if I'll watch it right away, but I will get to it. So we'll see what happens there. And then the last thing I have for my what's new in Geek, it's all revolving around TV shows this time. Normally it's comic books. This time it's all TV shows. We have a release date of August 29th on Netflix for all 8 episodes of Terminator 0.
The cartoon.
It is, yes, the trailer dropped. It has a heavy anime feel to it.
Didn't I send you the trailer?
Yes, I think you did actually.
Yeah.
At first,
At least I told you to go watch it.
When I first watched the trailer, it didn't really appeal to me. Like, we've talked about this before. I'm not into that animation style. I never was.
I'm not either.
I rewatched it today.
I appreciate it, but it's not something I watch.
Right. I mean, I understand. There's a ton of work that goes into that stuff. But I rewatched the trailer today in anticipation for tonight's episode. And I am getting kind of excited for it now.
I like that it has nothing to do with Connor.
Yes, that's exactly.
It's like a whole different person with a whole different story.
But it's still going to follow Skynet. I mean, it's still going to be in the universe. I don't know if it's considered canon or not.
Who knows
we'll see.
Canon at this point.
James Cameron, let me know if it's canon. I know you have nothing to do with it, but let me know.
It's funny because wasn't the first movie like when it first comes out, isn't it Canon Pictures?
I think
it's
yeah,
Canon
something
Pictures.
like that. Yeah.
Canon joint, yeah.
So what about you? What do you got going on?
Oh, I got a couple things here. We'll start from the bottom up. We'll go a little different here. Captain America: Brave New World trailer dropped. I watched it once, and that's enough for me.
I didn't watch it yet.
I figure, like, you know me, I'm not going to watch the 20 billion. Somebody just tried to spoil some shit about Deadpool and Wolverine on my Instagram, and I had to, on the Tree Geek Instagram, I had to scroll very fast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, dude. And there was like a paragraph explaining, so I was like, no. But anyhow.
Well, I told you, there's a whole extended trailer that's apparently the whole Sabretooth fight.
Yeah,
I don't want to see this.
Yeah. So I watched the Captain America trailer one time. I thought it looked pretty good. It piqued my interest. It looks... Thank God they changed that suit, because I did not like the suit at the end of the TV show. Just wasn't a fan of it. It looked too fluffy. I don't know. EA Sports. Well, we'll throw out some sports fans, some bones here. EA Sports college football.
I was just going to say
dropped.
Football.
It I think it did $7 million in a day or something. Like 700,000 people the first day were playing this thing.
That's
just
insane.
crushed. Well, I mean, now it was gone for a long time. I guess the colleges and players are mad because they weren't getting paid. Well, now they got this whole thing where players can somehow get paid in certain ways. I don't know the details. You can research it yourself. But Donovan Edwards from Michigan Wolverines, national champions. He's on the cover with some other guys. Can't remember who they are. Not important. Just kidding. You guys played phenomenal football. Just for national champions.
You were there too.
Yeah. But yeah, that came out. So shout out to all the video game players. I used to kill some NCAA like 2012, 2011, 14, like back in the day. I tried to play like the very last one that they came out with, and I just like it was so hard to play.
The last football game I played on a console was the Sega Genesis. And it was college, because I remember I'd always pick like Penn State, but
that's a long time.
It's been a while.
Men in Black 5, rumored to start January. It's been 5 years since the last one with Thor and Valkyrie in it.
I didn't see anything about that. Okay.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of details. I just saw it the other day.
No casting choices or
no, they didn't say if they're bringing people back or. I mean, Will Smith probably needs more money or something. Maybe he'll get wrangled.
Oh, you didn't read the plot? Will Smith shows up and starts slapping aliens.
Oh, well.
Saying, keep my name out of your mouth.
Keep your ship out my atmosphere. All right.
We're going to get...
Now, I'll throw out the most important news that I have. Star Trek Academy. It's a TV show. It's the next Star Trek show. So I just also saw that Skydance and Paramount are merging.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know it till today because... I saw a thing, hey, more casting for the show. And I saw that was a merger that was happening. So it's going to be a show set, I guess, in the Discovery future timeline. They're rebuilding the Starfleet and the Academy and things. So we got Karis Brooks from My Old Ass, Bella Shepherd from Wolfpack, and George Hawkins from Tell Me Everything. They just added today Kareem Diane from One of Us is Lying, and Zoe Steiner from Significant Others. They are going to be Academy kids.
I don't know
teenagers.
Any of those.
I don't know either. How about Holly Hunter?
No.
You know, she was pretty big back in the 90s. She's going to be a captain and Chancellor of Starfleet, and Paul Giamatti is going to be the bad guy.
I know that name.
Yeah, he was the Rhino in the really awesome Spider-Man movie.
So they're basically doing Gen V, but for Star Trek.
Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit more PG though.
Oh, well.
Definitely. I saw that little cricket girl. I don't know what we were watching the other day, and I was like, Emily, is that? And she goes, hey, that's that little gerbil.
Really?
Yeah, the shrinking girl. I can't remember what the hell it was though. Yeah, she was in it. So that is everything that is new in the world of Geek. Hopefully you guys check out some of these things. Hopefully they're not bombs. Hopefully they don't suck. Please, Marvel, please don't suck anymore, man. Also, on the topic of Star Trek, they're talking again about doing another one of the movies with Chris Pine. That universe, the Kelvin universe, not with him, but it's called Star Trek Origins, about how they're building Starfleet back then. So I guess they're just going to...
Nope. Last time we had any movie with the name Origins in it.
Yeah, I'm just saying. They're kicking this stuff around.
So, okay, here's a question, though. You just were telling us a couple weeks ago the one Star Trek show got canceled, but now they're spinning up another one.
Well,
are they always...
Prodigy got canceled, but it got picked up and put on Netflix for another season.
Oh, okay.
And Discovery got canceled, but it got like 5 seasons. 5 to 7 seasons is long for Star Trek. If you get at least 5 or 7, like you're doing pretty good.
It just seems like you're always talking about a new show coming out or one of them that's shutting down.
Well, the only Star Trek that's new right now, Prodigy got picked up by Netflix. You got the Michelle Yeoh movie coming out about Section 31 that I don't care about. This Academy show and the next season of Strange New World.
Section 31, the one you said about before, it's like the...
Yeah, the one that William Sadler is in it, the dude from Die Hard too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool if he came back. He probably won't, but it'd be awesome. And the final things I have, real quick, we got some Emmy nominations. We got the whole thing coming out. Fallout got 17 nominations, and X-Men got nominated for the Best Animated Series. So good luck to them.
And I think both of them deserve it.
Yeah, Walton Goggins is in for Best Lead Actor. So, hell yeah, he deserves it. I hope he gets it.
No, I completely agree. I think
I love The Bear, but
phenomenal shows. I need to watch Bear.
This last season was weird, but I still enjoyed it.
I need to... Someone else was just talking about it at work the other day, and I'm like, hey, I know what you're talking about, but I know nothing about that. But
you will one day.
I'll put that on my list right under Peaky Blinders.
Wow, that's a lot of episodes to watch for Peaky Blinders.
Well, Peaky Blinders is under One Piece. So
they got a movie. Cillian Murphy just put out a post not long ago with the script on a table for the movie to wrap it all up completely, because it kind of ended weird on the TV show. Like it wasn't really like an ending, because they've always been kicking around the possibility of a movie. So there will be a movie coming out.
Now, did it get canceled or did they just end it?
Well, I don't know. One of the main lead actresses died suddenly out of nowhere, and I think it really put a damper on a lot of things.
Okay.
And it was kind of running its course. I feel like
everybody tells me it's worth watching though.
Oh, I didn't ever thought. I was like, what? I'm not into gangster shit.
That, and then someone also told me I needed to watch what's the alternate universe where the Nazis won World War II.
I watched one episode, The Man on the High Castle.
Yes.
And then I got bored. The first, it gets better after that, but
that's unfortunate.
I had other things to do. I think I was getting a girlfriend at the time.
Well, speaking of other things to do, are you ready to get into this? We got 6 movies to get through and a lot to talk about.
We can get through each movie in 10 minutes.
I don't want to do that though.
Well, let me ask you.
We can get through a couple of them in 2 minutes, but the rest we'll spend time on. But I think we might disagree on which ones are horrible.
You're taking too long. Shut the fuck up. Get to the movies now. All right. Jesus. Speaking of Jesus, have you ever seen the Mad TV skit?
What kind of transition is that?
It is. Listen, the Mad TV skit where Will Sasso plays the Terminator, and he goes back in time to save Jesus, and he keeps killing people, and Jesus keeps resurrecting them, and he has the whole argument that you can't be killing people. So you got Jesus. You got to stop killing people. Why? Because you just can't. Why? It is absolutely bananas and amazing. So that's why I have those segues. I'll just segue out of my ass for no reason, bud. Okay? But let me ask you a question. What is the Terminator? If somebody had never heard of the Terminator, what would we tell them? What is this Terminator that we're talking about? Like, what is this franchise? What is this series?
You're asking me to say, to give my explanation of it? Arnold Schwarzenegger.
The Terminator is an American media franchise created by James Cameron and Gail Ann Hurd. It's considered to be the cyberpunk subgenre of science fiction. The franchise primarily focuses on post-apocalyptic war between a synthetic intelligence known as Skynet and a surviving resistance of humans led by John Connor. Skynet fights with the arsenal of cyborgs known as the Terminators, designed to mimic humans and infiltrate the resistance. A prominent model throughout the series is the T-800, commonly known as the Terminator and portrayed by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Time travel is a common aspect of the franchise, with humans and Terminators often being sent back to alter the past and change the outcome of the future. Thank you to whoever wrote that on Wikipedia.
That was actually, compared to some of the Die Hard ones, that was great.
Yeah, it was great. They've been comics, theme parks, video games.
So we'll go ahead and start it off with a little fun fact.
Go ahead.
Or Easter egg, or not Easter egg, sorry, trivia fact, if you will. The entire idea of Terminator, it's completely a James Cameron brainchild. First off, now I don't remember all the specifics, but he was essentially hired to do Piranha 2, and then like 3 days into filming, shoved aside because the actual person who wanted to direct it just needed to have a fresh name on it, but didn't want to actually let him do anything. And I remember I was reading, James Cameron said that he was frustrated, he was mad, he went to bed one night and he dreamt of a robot torso covered in human flesh pulling itself across the floor with a knife. And he woke up and that's where he got the idea, and he immediately started writing the script.
His dream is better than both Piranha movies and the remake.
I absolutely believe that, yeah.
Those movies are horrible.
But apparently, because he was a nobody. I mean, the Piranha movie was the very first thing he directed, and he didn't even technically direct it, even though his name got put on it. Terminator would have been his second, but nobody wanted to pick it up because he was a nobody. So he actually ended up selling the rights to the whole Terminator, IP, I guess, the intellectual property, to that Galian Hurd for $1.
$1?
$1, on the simple condition that she would, I don't know if it was fund it or produce it or whatever, because she was in a higher area, on the condition that he could direct it. Now, I mean, as we know, and we get to it again later, they eventually divorced. There was a little bit of legal issues with that whole shenanigans, but that is how we ended up with Terminator.
Dun, 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 dun.
And I'm so grateful that we did.
Yeah, because without Terminator, will we have gotten aliens? Probably not. Not with James Cameron, anyway. I mean, there would have been somebody, but...
And The Abyss.
The Abyss. What a fantastic movie that is. I love that movie.
And we'll get to it later, but all those played directly into T2 as well.
They sure do. It's special effects creations and...
So the Terminator, 1984, rated a big fat R. And if you've ever seen it, you know why it's rated R. 1 hour, 47 minutes. IMDb has it rated as an 8.1 out of 10.
Rotten Tomatoes, 100%. For critics, 89 for audience.
I mean, that is pretty dang solid for a, 40-year-old movie.
Yeah, it's good.
Wow, 40 years.
I was surprised that the audience was 89, though. But
I thought it'd be higher.
Those laser guns don't look real.
So, when I was rewatching this, I realized I haven't watched this movie in easily 20 years.
I watched it the other year.
If you want to, I'll run through the cast real quick.
I did it for my horror movie watch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was my favorite horror movie.
You consider this horror?
The first one, for sure, yeah.
Okay. We have Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator. Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor, which this was really one of her first big things, too. Michael Biehn?
Michael Biehn.
Michael Biehn, okay, as Kyle Reese. Paul Winfield as Traxler, the police chief. Lance Hendrickson.
He was from Star Trek, by the way. Paul Winfield.
Oh, really?
Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan.
Well, how about that? Lance Hendrickson as Vukovich, the detective, who is also, I was reading about this, apparently a good friend of James Cameron. They met on the set of one of the Piranhas. Hey, I mean, I guess take it where you can get it.
Yeah.
Earl Bowen as Silberman, the police
therapist,
psychiatrist, shrink, whatever. And then just because he's in it, I had to put it down. I think you already know who I'm going to say.
Bill Paxton is the punk.
Yes.
Well, don't forget about Brian Thompson, who would go on to play Shao Kahn. He played the other punk.
Yeah. He's the one that got
punched through.
Before we go any further.
Spoilers. Listen, if you've not watched any of these damn movies from 1984 till
2019,
figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure it out, bud.
Now, I know a lot of people don't like it when we say, oh, you had time to watch it, but we are giving you a fair warning right now. 40
years.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to cover all 6 Terminators. We might even branch into some of the little...
I got a couple. We got the Sarah Connor Chronicles we did not cover, but I mean, it did exist. We'll reference things here and there. There's been comic books, video games. Yeah,
but you've been warned. Put it simply enough, you've been warned. And on that note, I actually just picked up Terminator #1 from Dark Horse when they got bought by Dark Horse just the other week at the comic shop.
Right on. I read the RoboCop versus Terminator, and I hated the end. My buddy had the series. I was like, the ending's stupid.
Apparently, they did a ton of crossovers.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I have it written down right here. crossed over with the Predators, with Superman, RoboCop. I think there was even, the Autobots. So they've done stuff with...
That's great. I know there's theories that Predator and, was it Die Hard and Terminator, I think it is, they all take place in the same universe?
It's Commando and Predator.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
We covered that in our Predator podcast, Predator 2.
Okay.
We were talking about it, yep.
Well, I was reading that there were theories that Skynet came to be because, how was it? Because one person survived an attack by an alien. In other words, Arnold Schwarzenegger's
Dutch
Schaefer survived an attack by the Predator. So the government went into full panic mode, developing something to fight these aliens or predators. And they developed a sentient AI, a robot, to fight them. And apparently there's slight proof to this in a old Terminator video game. Not Terminator, I think it was Predator video game. There was a character named Dutch Schaefer who was a robot.
Uh-huh. You read that too.
Yeah, I just found that out, I think, yesterday, actually.
Well, hopefully they merge the series next with Predator, so we can have T versus P, or P versus T, whatever you prefer, and they have that really cool, awesome suit at the end of the Predator, and then he takes on the Terminator.
PVAP. PVAVT. Pat.
Remember that whole thing, I'm going to pee in your V?
Jeez.
All right, let's get
This
back.
That's why we can't have
here.
nice things.
Yeah, like you said, that budget, man, 6.4 and worldwide, it made 78, domestic 38. I mean, that's
I didn't say
a return.
The budget.
You didn't say it? Well, I just did. I had it written down right here.
Yeah. I have it written down. Relatively low budget, actually, but for 84, I mean, that was still higher. But even then, 6.4 million is really not.
No,
a lot.
that's not a lot of money even to make a movie back then. No.
Right, and that's why a lot of the Terminator, the actual endoskeleton walking scenes, it wasn't claymation, but it was the same idea.
It was stop motion.
Yeah, thank you, stop
yeah.
motion. So I wrote my notes down kind of in order as I rewatched the movie.
So did I.
So
let's turn the movie on and go through it in our heads.
Oh, that'd be great. Very first thing I have, because I was kind of sucked into it. I forgot how much I loved that movie. Was that you don't even realize, like, I tried to put myself in the mind of somebody watching it for the first time, and you don't even realize that Arnold's character is an android until about a third of the way into the movie.
Yeah, because even like when he punches a hole through Brian Thompson,
you just think, oh, like maybe he's super strong. Like,
yeah, like, you don't really for sure know. I mean, at least he's shown to be dangerous right off the bat, though. I mean, he's killer.
Yeah,
and that's why I think it's a horror movie, because he's going around,
Well,
he goes through the phone book. That poor lady, the first Sarah Connor. Me and my buddy always talk about this over the phone. Sarah Connor? Yes. And he shoots her like, stops for a quick second. Shoots her like, they shot her like 6-7 times.
Unloads a clip into her.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's like, my mission is to make sure you are dead. That was horrible. But so I was, again, I pulled up every interview I could find and, every story that was written. Apparently, James Cameron originally interviewed Arnold Schwarzenegger for the part of Reese.
Well, he's supposed to be a detective as well.
Well, I guess he didn't think he would be a good fit for Reese, but he agreed to the interview anyways. And then throughout the whole interview, Arnold kept on giving pointers on like, oh, and make, whoever plays Terminator needs to move like this, like robotic, and talk like this. And at the end of it, he was just like, do you want the part? And he drew Arnold while they were sitting there talking.
Well, yeah, because Lance was supposed to be a detective.
Lance Henriksen was supposed to be Terminator.
I mean, was supposed to be the Terminator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lance Henriksen was supposed to be the Terminator. It gets all flip-flopped around, and it worked out for the best.
I think I have it written somewhere, all the different people who could have been, like, in some of the different roles, and they could have been entirely different movies.
I decided to try not. I didn't do that for this one, because after I did that with Lethal Weapon and Die Hard, like, you get so many possibilities. It's like, I cannot write down 50 people. And I kind of let you do more of the trivia on this one. Do you want to kind of very briefly go through kind of what happens here?
Sure.
So how the movie starts off. We get a trash truck guy, sees a bunch of lightning, get a naked Schwarzenegger. You had something in your notes about this.
What I have in my notes for the first two movies is another Arnold ass. You see an Arnold ass right away. And in the first movie, apparently, same thing with Die Hard. I watched this stuff on TV, okay?
Oh,
I watched the unedited or the uncensored versions in this rewatch. Even though he's in shadow, you see a massive thing in the front of Arnold as he's walking towards the punks.
Oh, yeah.
Swinging back and forth.
That's that Austrian sausage.
I'm watching it. And I know our listeners are going to be like, why were you looking there? Look, you can't miss it, okay? Just, yeah. But
Human body's a beautiful thing, man.
Like, one of the first things you see is stark naked Arnold walking. Second movie starts, another naked Arnold. All I could think was, my boss is going to walk by again and see more naked man ass on my screen. Because thank you, Die Hard. There was plenty in there.
You got to be more careful. Yeah, so he shows up. He has to deal with these punks. Bill Paxton. And it's kind of weird for me because I always in my head think that Aliens came before Terminator, and I know that's not true. But you get Bill Paxton.
Laundry day, right?
Laundry day, right? Nothing to wear, right? So yeah, he takes care of those. We then get to see Kyle Reese show up.
Yep.
In an alleyway, naked as well. And dude, that drop when he just... Like, Arnold, like, he's kind of just there on the ground. And I assume it's because he's a heavy fucking piece of machinery. He's got all that metal inside of him.
Mm.
But, like, you see Reese just drop, what, like 4 feet? It's like falling out of, like, a bunk bed or something. It just, like, drops. And, like, man, I can just feel the asphalt, you know, just like, my hip.
Yeah, my knees. Yeah.
And that, the drunken,
the homeless guy. He stole my pants.
Right, lie.
And then later he's like, he stole my pants.
Dude, they're such nasty clothes.
I know.
He gets chased around by the cops. He has to like lose them. And he gets so many iconic scenes that I don't really want to go through now until we get to another movie because there's so many callbacks to them.
No, okay. So something I didn't realize rewatching this was that "Come with me if you want to live" is not said by Arnold in the first movie.
No, it's said by.
Always thought he was the one who coined that, along with, you know, "I'll be back."
It's got to be one of those things where is that the Berenstain Bears shit, you know,
the Mandela effect.
Yeah, where you think it's one way or not. I like that you see the Reese has a ton of scars right away. You see that he's a scrapper, he's a survivor, he's been through some shit.
Yeah,
I enjoy that. And after that, we get to see who Sarah Connor is. You know, Linda Hamilton on her scooter,
working at the diner.
Yeah, dude. The casting that they used to do, and you don't see this in movies anymore, I don't think. The lady that plays her friend, waitress, just the wild acting there. Like the whole commotion of the restaurant. She's like trying to rush her to a TV. The whole line, or "You're dead, honey."
Yeah.
You know, like, you don't see shit like that in a movie anymore. I'm not saying that nobody acts great or anything. Don't be taking me the wrong way.
Most of it's the writing. It's revolved around the main character.
But some of these scenes that aren't even important are always ingrained in my head because they're just. Yeah. And where did that lady end up? Probably no. I don't know what she's doing with her life, but it's just so memorable.
No, I agree.
Yeah, and then we get to the Terminator. You know, the first Sarah Connor. She's, you know, well, no, I guess it's around that time. But he's going. You see people looking through the phone book and all these things.
Yeah, and then Sarah ends up at the police station, then she ends up not.
You skipped like half the movie right there. You forgot about Dick Miller.
Dick Miller.
Yeah, the gun shop owner.
Yeah.
When he goes in there and he's I want the something laser oil with 30 gigawatt range. Only what you can see, pal. And I wrote that on my notes because Dick Miller was in everything.
And he's like, anything else? What do you say? Something like laser cannon?
They just count the 35 gigawatt range. Yeah. Yeah, Dick Miller was in over 180 movies before he passed. 180 movies. Wow. That dude was like everywhere. Yeah, so I had to make a note of that. I like that when Kyle Reese is asleep in the one parking lot next to this movie, even from the very first scene that does have the garbage truck, you just see heavy equipment everywhere. I mean, you're seeing, you had the quick view of the future with the skulls and the Terminator shooting around, you know, and the flashbacks. But then you keep seeing all these big giant machines like moving around. You kind of get this idea, we need these machines, like these things are doing. But imagine if a big giant bulldozer had a mind of its own and just pulled what's the Stephen King movie, Maximum Overdrive, or Christine too. He liked to do car movies in a way. I don't know, maybe like he's a car guy. Carpenter, he did those, right? Carpenter's a thing. Yeah, I don't know. I probably should know. I shouldn't say I don't know because I watch horror movies. It's Carpenter. It is Carpenter.
That's right. You're a poser.
Yeah, I'm a fake.
Yep.
Completely fake. The answering machine. Machines need love too. You get Sarah Connor saying on an answering machine with her buddy, with her roommate, machines need love too. You know, it's like, you don't, if you watch this for the first time, you wouldn't even know the importance of these.
There's so much foreshadowing.
Yes, so much.
It was.
And she does the answering machine and she goes out, feels like she's being followed by Reese, goes into tech noir.
Yep.
And it's the first time you see the T-800 heads up display.
Yeah.
And I guess that's when you're saying 100% this is now like
This isn't a normal person.
yeah, like this is a machine. Like what the hell's going on? Like he does the targeting and all those things, and I confirms that he's a machine. And then obviously they escape after the big giant car scene, and then the police station happens.
And I love though how in tech noir they really play it up that you're not sure who the bad guy really is here.
Yeah, I mean one of them's actually killing people, but yeah.
Yes, but I mean up until this point in the movie, you don't know anything about Reese. Like we don't know what his intentions are.
He's a big question mark for sure.
Right, and we don't know anything about Terminator or T-800 because. Other than the fact that he likes to punch through people and blow away gun owners.
Right.
Or pawn shop owners.
They should have had the gigawatt gun. Do you ever listen to the band Gunship? It's kind of like a retro type.
No.
They have a song called Tech Noir, which actually has it's either James Cameron or Carpenter. It might be, I think it is Carpenter though, that speaks in it. And I was like, oh, this seems like cool. Tech Noir seems like cool. I never remembered the bar club being Tech Noir.
That's great.
So it was cool to remember that. So every time I see this now, I just kind of think of that song. Pretty sweet.
Something I did notice.
Great video.
Well, first off, after the whole battle, and Arnold ends up in his little apartment that he goes through the window.
Fuck you, asshole.
Dude, the prosthetics were just laughable. But in 84...
I loved it as a kid, though.
In 84, I feel like that was some top-notch stuff. But there's a scene where he takes the razor blade to his eye, and like he's, cleaning that out. There's no blade in it.
The X-Acto blade thing.
Yeah, you can see clearly there's no blade in it.
I get just so many points, like the credit that I give them for doing watching all those old horror movies around the same time. This was better than some of those horror movies. Not as good as others, but still, it was definitely on par and a little bit better than some of the other ones.
Yeah, and I feel like a big part of this too was the music. The score just nailed it.
The score in this one and the next one are just. And who do you know who does the score? Okay, I thought you had it typed up.
No, I don't have it for this one. No, I don't have it for this one.
So after Tech Noir, everything happens. They have it at a police station. And what happens at the police station that will ever be remembered in the annals of time?
A massacre.
Of 16 people? 13 people?
17.
17.
I think they say later it was 17.
In T2, they say. I have it written down in my notes for T2.
No, we see the Terminator walk in.
17, it's 17.
Ask for Sarah Connor. Sorry, buddy. Yeah, the whole
visiting
police
hours,
spiel.
all that thing, yeah.
And then we get the I'll be back.
Oh, she's giving her statement. That's what he said.
Which I, again, in all my deep diving, apparently Arnold had a hard time with the contraction saying I'll because of his accent. So he wanted to say I will. And the script was actually I'll come back. And for some reason, when he said it, he just said I'll be back. And in the interview I was watching, James Cameron basically said, like, immediately he was like, that's it right there. That's it.
Yeah, when you strike gold, you know it.
Yeah, and, I mean, and then it was said in every movie later.
I love when he leans in and looks to the left, looks to the right, and looks, I'll be back.
Yeah, like he's like, yep, I can blow this down.
Yep, I got this.
And then he was back with the car.
Yes, just slams right in. And the way that guy reacts to it coming in, it's coming, but he has to pretend that he doesn't know it's coming.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Well, and that was the thing back then too. Like nowadays, stuff like that, it's almost all CGI. They just you don't see the practical effects.
And we'll get into that
in
later.
Movies like that though, they had to act authentic. There was no, we'll put a scared face on you later, or we'll put somebody in there later. No, it's you're there, dude. Do the part.
Right. So he goes in there, mows down a shit ton of cops, but 17 of them die. He shot more than 17 people. 17 of them.
I am sad though that Hendrickson's death was off screen. They didn't give him an actual send-off at all.
It would have been nice to see an extended type cut.
Like him holding his own for a minute or something.
But poor Paul Winfield goes. Lance eventually, off screen goes.
Yep.
Reese gets her out of there, and they go on another chase. End up at I forgot. I knew they were in a factory, but I couldn't remember the type of factory that they were in. I don't even know really what this factory did.
It was some type of like computer manufacturing or like microchip manufacturing plant.
Oh, that explains the whole Cyberdyne thing later.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we get the tanker truck chase after this, and that was
banana sandwich.
Like the whole scene was just great. The whole thing was well done.
The series has got a lot of chases.
It does. And then that massive, like the truck, spoiler, the tanker truck ends up blowing. Boom. Massive explosion. To me, that was like climax level action with the, like, wow, that was great. Oh, we're not done.
Oh, there's more.
which apparently, yep, that's right. I got more random info.
No, it's good.
Apparently, the original, I don't know if it was, I think it was the studio, wanted to end it there with like, he was destroyed in the explosion type of thing. And James Cameron he had more or less just said, no, we have a lot more story to tell.
He's a very adamant person.
Oh, yeah, and I'm glad.
Something.
I mean,
yeah.
Honestly, James Cameron, he hasn't really made anything horrible. He's had his ups and downs, but for the most part, some of the biggest blockbusters, he's right up there with Spielberg.
Yeah, whether I like Avatar or not, the movie's massive. It's absolutely massive. And Titanic, as much as it's a romance movie, it's fucking Titanic. It's huge.
I think Avatar held the first place, like, revenue or whatever you want to call it,
for
until Infinity War.
Yeah.
Or no, Endgame.
Endgame, and then Jurassic something did something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so you get to see the Terminator in all its glory.
So I completely forgot that Kyle Reese is John Connor's father.
So when you were watching this, you didn't remember that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, because we blew over the whole thing where they do the deed.
No, I have that in my notes too. Did not know there was a sex scene because stupid TV, like TNT or whatever, just because you can't show nipples on TV.
I'm watching all these on VHSs, man, as a kid. Like, you're watching all the PG edited stuff, and I'm like watching it.
But I didn't realize that at the time.
Wow.
Now, like I said, it's been 20 years since I saw that, and probably at least 15, 20 since I saw T2.
The only thing I thought about that scene when they were doing it is, like, I really hope he took a shower. He got some different pants, because, man, he has some nasty pants. I mean, she put that good field dressing on underneath the overpass, and then it's like, this dude needs a shower. I'm sure that bum had pissed in that pants. Like, I couldn't, like, over and over and over. He was MCP pants before there was MCP pants.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But this is one of those movies, too, where, like, the climax and the factory and everything, even knowing what's going to happen, I still felt myself with that, like, anxious and suspense feeling. Like, that's how you know it's a good movie. Is it
somebody can still invoke the same emotions that you have had the first couple times you've seen it. I've seen this movie 20 sometimes. I've seen this movie so many times.
And I attribute a huge portion of those feelings to the score, which I do have it here. Is Brad Fiedel.
Well, he did a great job.
He did.
Dun, 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 dun. Which I guess is more of the... I mean, this one's... It's the industrial. Like, you hear... I just watched Galaxy Quest the other day, and they get towards the end of the ship, and the chompers.
Yeah.
And the sound of the chompers is kind of like the same of what's in here. That clanging metal, that industrial metal. Not like the industrial, we're not talking about Fear Factory and like that type of metal. We're talking like factory clanging together. Like, yeah. And it just made perfect sense. It's gold, man. Gold.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, it's just...
And again, this is one of those, you know, even though I'd seen it, you know, I'm at work and I'm like, well, let me check out my stocks and see what's going on. And I was like, I kept looking back at the screen, you know, like even though I've seen this movie 20 times, I was still sucked in to watch it again.
That's what I mean. I mean, this is one of those movies that to me, it falls right in line with like Die Hard or
those 80s movies, man. It's all about them 80s.
Or Alien or Predator. Like, I could just watch this. This is one that if I was flipping through the channels, even though it's not really a thing for most people anymore, I would more than happily stop and just watch it.
Oh yeah. If like he was in there with Dick Miller, I'd be like, all right, I'm watching this.
Yep.
I don't care what you, no, turn that off. We're watching this.
So I do have a list of some Easter eggs and trivia, if you want me to just run through real quick for this movie.
Sure. You keep saying Easter eggs, though. Easter eggs are something that are called back from something else. There's no Easter eggs because this is the first movie.
Well, I just have the category trivia on my notes as trivia/Easter eggs, okay?
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that we're not just willy-nillying it too much.
And actually, you know what? There are a few Easter eggs.
From what?
Wow.
There's nothing to read.
Let me read it.
Well, you go right ahead. You're the professional.
Let's see. First up is the concept of Terminator came from his dream. We already talked about that. James Cameron sold the rights for $1. Here, Linda Hamilton was 27, 28 when she was cast as Sarah Connor.
Great Easter egg.
That's not. This was like I said, like her real breakout role.
And almost 30. That's pretty good.
I was just gonna say, like, that's really late in your career.
I don't remember her being in a lot of things.
She wasn't.
No, I mean like
since
Terminator
then?
now.
She really wasn't.
She hasn't.
But
been everywhere.
You know she's making royalties.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Director James Cameron makes a brief appearance as a janitor in the police station. I went back and couldn't find it.
I tried to look too, and I couldn't see it.
Supposedly, Stan Lee also makes a brief appearance in the police station, but I couldn't find that either.
Yeah, I couldn't find either of them.
So it must be really brief or it was cut. The footage of the future war was shot using minis and all practical effects. So again, it's 1984. There's no real CGI.
It still looked good, though. It looked better than Battle Beyond the Stars.
Well, this technique is what he later used in Alien.
That's what Star Trek did a lot of that stuff for the ships, too. It's all like miniatures and models. It's not CGI'd. A lot of people are really mad because they went back to the original series, and when they're put on TV now, a lot of the planets are changed in the
4K digital remastering. Yeah.
I don't care about it, but some people are really mad.
The message on Sarah Connor's answering machine was voiced by Linda Hamilton's real-life mother.
Oh.
When she's going through the messages.
Yeah, when they find out what hotel that they're staying in.
Yeah. Okay, here's the callback. Or the Easter egg, if you will.
Okay.
Can I?
Wow me.
Okay. In the Tech Noir nightclub, there's a poster for the band Rats of Unusual Size on the wall, which is a direct reference to the Princess Bride book from 1973, where the creatures are called rodents of unusual size.
That's a reference, not an Easter egg.
All right, we're done.
Cancel podcast. We're not even friends anymore.
The
Wait a minute, were we friends?
I don't know. The 1973 film Westworld influenced the concept of the Terminator as an infiltration unit with the whole living tissue. Yes, but a huge part of that was also from his dream.
The first premium channel that my mother ever could afford was Encore. And the first couple movies that were ever on, one of them was Westworld, and they would play it like 5 times a day. Well, I'm talking like 1995, 96.
Jeez.
So we had Encore. There was Encore and Stars, but we can only afford the Encore one. But Westworld was on over and over and over again, which is kind of why I was excited to watch the TV show, which I never finished.
Yeah, you don't.
I watched the first 3, and
I think I watched the first 2 or 3 seasons and never. We should go back and do that.
Yeah, because that's when I found out the other Hemsworth brother was in it.
I didn't know that. Nice. The practical effects used for the Terminator's endoskeleton, as well as scenes where he's damaged. It's all the pioneering work of Stan Winston.
Love me some Stan Winston.
This was one of his early special effects movies that he went on to.
Predator.
Man, yeah, I would say he went on to do so many other major movies. Preparing for the role as Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger spent weeks at the firing range learning how to fire a weapon without flinching or blinking, as well as how to strip and reassemble guns completely blindfolded.
Forrest Gump.
Because he wanted to portray a machine-like precision with the character. He was a strong advocate that an android or a robot, whatever you want to call it, they, again, no emotion, so they have no reason to have reflexes. So he wanted to really push that across, and I think he did a good job.
Oh, he did fantastic. I mean, he's been playing this role for I couldn't tell you how long now. Well, I could. 40 years.
Yeah, there you go. Reading through it, it looks like most of these we kind of covered as we went.
Do you know why it's T800 Model 101? I know it's kind of jumped. They mentioned in the next movie. Do you know why there's 2 different?
No.
So the T800, there's a T800, a T600, all the other ones. That is the chassis. That is the metal robot.
The endoskeleton.
The 101 is the face. It's the flesh.
Oh, interesting.
Like some of the Terminators later would be like a Model 105 or something like that, you know? Yeah.
So here is my absolute favorite little trivia piece, because it's one of those, it did not age well. Initially considered for the role of the Terminator, but James Cameron felt he was too likable and nobody would believe he was a killer.
Oh, yeah.
Was O.J. Simpson. We'll just leave it at that. That did not age well at all.
Or, depending on your perspective, it's aged right where it needed to be.
That's true.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So, sorry for the long list.
It's kind of like when Soldier Boy's talking about Bill Cosby and the boys.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I made some strong drinks.
Yeah, about that. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on. If you have nothing else for the first Terminator, what out of 10 do you give it?
9.
9?
9.
I gave it an 8.5. Pretty solid.
It's a great movie. To me, it is this one and the next one. Well, I'll spoil it right now for me. I give that one a 9 too. It is about as close to a perfect movie as you can get as far as acting. The only reason I would give this a low 9. I'll just say 9 for easy, but only because of the special effects, but I don't want to take it away because it was 84. You can't compare it to Endgame now. But just the way that movie's acted, directed, the pacing,
it's a piece of
everything.
artwork. It's beautiful.
So rewatchable.
Is it dated?
So rewatchable.
Yes, it's dated.
So
but you know what? Yeah, it is. I like the term cult classic, but like you said for Die Hard, it's not a cult classic. It is a classic.
Yeah, I mean.
So I'll go ahead and give you mine then too. Terminator 2, I gave a 9 out of 10. And I'll say it right off the bat. This is one of the insanely rare times that I liked the sequel better than the original.
They took the original recipe of Terminator, added a couple secret seasonings and spices, and you went, holy shit, like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, that hamburger's awesome, but this hamburger? Whoa.
So we're jumping 7 years forward to 1991 with Terminator 2. It
feels like forever later.
It does. It really
like a
does.
whole different generation, yeah.
Terminator 2 Judgment Day, 2 hours, 35 minutes. Now this, again, I watched all the full extended editions.
Yeah, I watched a version that I'd never seen before. No shit, because I've seen T2, I couldn't tell, probably more than Terminator. And that's why I was texting you. I was like, so, about this.
Yeah, and then the scenes that I'm like, dude, I never saw these. You're like, yeah, they were there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was always there. Yeah. What do you got for IMDb?
IMDb, Internet Movie Database. Yes, I had someone message me about you saying it wrong.
I say it wrong all the time.
They literally said, for the love of God, please tell Michael it's IMDb, not IMBD. Like when I edit, I hear a lot of things we both just mispronounce and just go right over. And it's like, man,
I speak American.
I'm going to start recording just my voice, re-saying the word and putting it in. So you'll be listening to this podcast and all of a sudden you'll hear some random word like, but yeah, IMDb 8.6 out of 10. So it actually got rated ever so slightly higher than the first one. The first one was 8.1.
Rotten Tomatoes, 91 critics, 95 audience.
I'm still amazed this got a higher rating on the audience than on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, I can agree, but it's still surprising.
I was shocked that it was like a 95 compared to an 89.
Yeah, that's a big jump.
It's 11 points, right? Or 6 points.
That's 6.
So listen, I can't speak. I can't do math. I don't know what I'm good for. Yeah.
Look, before this conversation goes Ari, let's keep going.
Hey, listen, I was born Ari, okay?
Oh, man. The film, due to the incredible success of the first movie, they did get a slight bump in budget.
Yeah, how much was that?
They got it bumped to $102 million, which actually made it one of the most expensive films ever made at that time.
How much did it make domestic?
$520 million worldwide.
No, domestic.
I don't have domestic. You know that.
204.
Don't care.
And then worldwide is 515. Well, because it matters, because you got to understand when a movie is going to be a success or not. Sometimes they don't give a shit what it makes in China or Russia or Europe. If it doesn't make money in Texas or Idaho, like they're not going to care. That's why, to me, I look at the budget and then I look at the domestic earnings, because you have a Star Wars movies that make shit tons of money here. Overseas, it doesn't do, like, they don't care about the movie over there.
You mean like how the last Die Hard, for some reason, is super popular over in...
Yeah, like Russia or Germany.
No, I don't think Russia likes this much.
It was like Germany. Yeah, no, it was Germany. Well, even the Die Hard 3, where they're talking bad about like the German, like in Germany loves that movie. It's
You mean where they're not actually speaking German?
Yeah, they're just gibberish in it.
Go back to the last episode. We covered all the diehards, and
it's raining like cats and dogs out there.
There's some amazing little things that we discovered.
So, but yeah, it's definitely a success. It's made so much money, like a crap ton of money. It put a couple Edward Furlong on the map for sure.
Well, and I even have here that it was the highest grossing film of 91, and it was in the highest, I think it was like 5 of that decade of the 90s, and that's the beginning of the 90s.
If this movie wouldn't have been so big, I wouldn't have got to watch Brain Scan the other day with Edward Furlong.
Yeah.
It's a decent horror movie, and I watched it on Encore for the first time.
Now, this is one I have watched many more times than the first, but again, it's been probably a good 15, 20 years. So, while I remembered most of this one, it again was like watching it fresh, and oh my gosh, did I love it. So we have Arnold Schwarzenegger coming back as the Terminator, the T-800, but then I also have written down with question marks because I didn't know the whole variations that you were saying.
Cyberdyne Systems Model 101.
Thank you, yes. And then we have Linda Hamilton coming in as Sarah Connor, Edward Furlong as John Connor. If you don't know who Edward Furlong is, he's the one who played Danny, the little brother in American History X. That's where I first saw him.
Yeah.
Good movie.
He's also went a little bit nuts and went to a grocery store once and let a bunch of lobsters go free.
Yeah, he had some serious drug issues.
Yeah, he kind of...
Which is actually, we'll get to it, but why he didn't come back for the third Terminator movie to play John Connor. Because of his massive drug issues, they put it in his contract. You have to be sober for X number of months before filming or you don't have the part.
It's just crazy you mentioned that because remember in the Aliens, Reese from the first movie, Michael Biehn, replaced James Remar because of his drug problems. And we had a whole different Corporal Hicks.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
stop doing drugs.
Yeah, seriously.
Drugs are bad.
Well, apparently he decided...
Are they? I don't know.
Apparently he decided like a few days before filming to go out and get, party with his friends, a celebration. Got completely obliterated, ended up ODing, and lost the part because of it. Yeah, anyways, back to what is. And then we have Robert Patrick.
You mean the one guy who had like his lines disappeared or weren't even in it from Die Hard 2?
In Die Hard 2, I believe he said, what was it?
Something about a trap.
You look like
sitting ducks.
Yeah, they were like, do we look like idiots or something like that? He's like, no, you look like sitting ducks. Yep. Yeah, he had, that's like all he said. Yeah.
And Leguizamo was supposed to say shit too, and they cut all his lines.
Well, and that was enough to actually, I guess, impress James Cameron. I don't know.
He got an audition off of that.
Yeah, and he apparently nailed it.
I had a guy, Jerry Knights, who's definitely not listening to this, but he had the haircut. He was the same like size. I was a bagger at a grocery store way out in Arizona for a long time, and he would always kind of just do the straight face and do like the running thing with the hands.
Yeah,
and he'd already do the finger. And I'd be like, dude, he looked just like Robert Patrick. It was crazy. And Robert Patrick is an American treasure, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
What a great fucking guy.
He played the T-1000. What else was he in recently?
Peacemaker.
Yeah, he played Augie, the horribly racist father of Peacemaker.
So you know how Peacemaker killed Rick Flag? Yeah, well, also, you got Frank Grillo is going to show up as, he's going to be in Peacemaker 2 as Rick Flag Sr. And he's supposed to be in the Superman movie too, so
Mr. Crossbones, huh?
Oh yeah, that's gonna be great.
That is gonna be great. Let's see. Then we got Joe Morton playing Miles Dyson, who would later go on to play Henry Deacon in Eureka. Still one of the best sitcoms. Sitcoms? Yeah, why not? One of the best shows I've ever seen. Did I tell you Eric, one of our listeners, decided to check it out and he hated it?
You want to know when it was going to get good?
Yeah, I'm very, very disappointed.
From the first episode, that's when it got good.
It's one of my favorite shows, and I was very sad that he didn't like it. But, I mean, everybody has their own cup of tea. It
was my bedtime show, but then I started rewatching Sunny in Philadelphia because I realized that that's somehow on Disney+. I was like, I can watch Always and Sunny on Disney+? I
still need to watch that, too.
Okay.
And then the last one I have here is Earl Bowen coming back again as Doc Silberman.
Good old Doc Silverman. How's the knee?
This time, however, he's basically making good on his promise, or not promise, but comment of the first movie of, I could make a career on these. Of Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese's crazy story. And he literally did.
He kind of reminds me of the warden from the Hannibal Lecter movies that thinks he's like smarter than Hannibal Lecter. And you're not. You're not. Definitely not.
So what do you have for your rewatch?
Well, before I even go through like the order of what actually happens in the movie, the first thing I wrote down was updated effects.
Yes.
Yeah, and we'll get into some of the crazy effects later, but you can instantly notice the effects are updated and for the better. Ominous music. The theme from the first movie is really cool, but they took that theme and just spiced it up for this one.
Yep.
I couldn't tell you how many times I'm walking around today and I'm just like, just in my head, just dun 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 dun, just it's great. It's fantastic. You're just walking like a Terminator.
Peter and Family Guy, you have your own theme song.
Right.
So yeah, this movie, I have to say it, starts out with Arnold's naked ass right there as he teleports into the back of a truck.
Yeah, sure. Arnold Schwarzenegger shows up.
And we get that amazing bar scene.
Yes. Give me clothes, your boots, and then motorcycle. I can never say the cycle part right. Yes, an amazing, just the action of these guys hitting him with pole sticks, trying to stab him, putting the cigar out on, or, it's And even the dude, he gets thrown onto the ground. He's like, with his hands. Like, it's amazing. You can't recreate that.
Well, there's a, like, he throws the one guy out the window. And then later when he's leaving and he gets on the bike, you see the guy laying on the hood of a car in the background. He's still there.
Continuity right there.
And then the barber comes out, he's like, I can't let you take his wheels. And Arnold's just like, I'm going to take your shotgun then.
and
his sunglasses.
Yeah.
Which became a like staple of fashion back.
I love that the really cheap Walmart sunglasses in the fishing section look like those glasses. Like the $4 ones that I buy like 5 of a year because I lose them. Drop them in the river kayaking. Yep. Yeah, so we get the guitars and Cadillacs, hillbilly music. That's I love that song. And the fact that it's playing the whole entire time that they're fighting is pretty awesome.
Yep. So then we get introduced to the next time traveler. All we know is another person arrives, assaults a cop.
That cop was so believable as a cop. Just the way he was on the radio and walking. It was like, he just seems like a douchebag cop. He just did. I was not mad that this guy got killed. He just seemed like a not cool guy.
So yeah, but see, at this point in the movie, though, you're like, I don't really know.
You hear like a slight thump when he kills the cop, but you don't see
exactly.
How
you don't even know if he.
I was like, man, that was one hell of a gut punch.
You don't even know if he really kills him. You just see him punch him, and then he's in his uniform. So from a visual perspective, you think, oh, he just knocked him out and took his clothes. This must be like another version of John Connor, or I mean,
this is Reese.
Kyle Reese. Yeah,
another Reese.
Yeah, and they do a fantastic job at that whole red herring of not letting you know what's what.
Have you ever looked at Robert Patrick in any movie and said, yeah, he seems like a good guy? Like ever? He played
no.
Robert Patrick shows up, man. Like when he showed up in Wayne's World.
Oh, no! I will say though, that man, he is dedicated to his craft. I mean, yeah, anything he plays is believable.
We end up meeting. So John Connor is not with Sarah Connor. No, John Connor is with Budnick from Salute Your Shorts, and
that's who it was.
Yeah, we got some step parents. There's a theory that Budnick, well, even though his name is different, that this Tim got in so much trouble from being with John Connor that he got sent away to camp and ended up being Camp Anawanna. But you meet his stepmom. No. You're not my mom, or not my dad, but it's his stepmom is Janelle, who later become Vasquez in Aliens, played by Jeanette Goldstein. Looks completely different.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I am dead serious. Same actress, because she looked familiar. Sort of. I wasn't thinking of Aliens. I was thinking of some other thing, and I looked it up.
I would have placed that.
And on Wikipedia, and
I never would have got that on my own.
Completely different looking lady.
It must be the hair. That must be a huge part of it.
It's got to be. And you get the iconic Guns N' Roses "You Could Be Mine," which is an amazing song. But you ever seen the music video?
No.
Robert Patrick is in it, like as the T-1000.
Well, Guns N' Roses wrote that, or they did that song for this movie.
Sure did.
Which
I like the lyric. Don't ask me where I've been. Thank your lucky stars. I came home again. Yeah. Dude, that is such a douchebag Axl Rose. Bitch, don't worry about where I've been. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, we find out that he doesn't really know his mother. He just has that picture, which, hey, it's a callback. It is the...
Well, he knew his mom.
Well, not well. I mean,
he was only with her for a short period of time. He complains about it later of what his childhood
is under the
like.
Impression that she's nuts.
Yeah, because he's not. What is he, like 11 now?
I think they said he was 12. Yeah,
12. Yeah.
So you got to figure that he probably got separated from her when he was like 9.
Yeah.
My daughter's age.
Yeah, because she got shipped to Pescadero.
Yep, and
she got ripped.
I love though that the picture he pulls out is a direct callback to the picture that Kyle Reese had.
Yes.
And it's in a little plastic holder, keeping it safe. Like
it's an important piece of the franchise is this picture.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the fact that they thought to like put it in a little plastic holder to keep it safe and like to just bring it up. It wasn't a throwaway thing from the first movie.
I will say this
became an important puzzle piece.
I'll say it now that despite my feelings on some of the movies and some of the parts of movies in the future, the whole entire franchise, I will say this about the Terminator franchise. And I know there's a lot of wobbly, timely things going on. Continuity and making sense to me is done very well in this series. I think it is. People can argue that, but we just did a whole entire rewatch.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like, well, this makes absolutely no sense because of this, that, and because it just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. but
the only thing
that picture's part of it.
The biggest thing that didn't make sense for me was the constant changing of actors.
That's Hollywood, though.
Yeah, that's Hollywood. Which I have some opinions on a couple of the actors later. But
sure, absolutely. I probably do as well.
It's actually not the one you think it is that I mentioned earlier. It's
then I look forward to it.
Totally different. Okay, jumping back to what you just said. Yes, we do cut over. We see Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton in the psych ward, and she is ripped. I mean, she like what the first thing you see is her doing was it pull-ups, I think? Push-ups, pull-ups.
Yeah.
And I mean, she could take any one of us in arm wrestling easy. Like she was.
Well, I don't know if it's easy.
Come on.
Yeah, because Silverman doesn't like that she's messing with the room. And that's when I get to the extra scene of pill forcing and beating.
Oh,
that was
man.
I'd never seen that before. Like, I knew that they were supposed to go in there, you know, and stop her for what she's doing, but it usually cuts to another scene.
Yeah.
But no, they go in there, they force her to take the pills, they kick her in the stomach, which leads her to being knocked out. And she has a whole nother dream sequence that I've never seen before, where Michael Biehn shows back up in the movie as Kyle Reese.
Yep.
And I was like, what? I was like, I'm watching a whole new movie.
It's like a spirit animal. Like,
I was very happy these scenes are put in there because it gave it more gravity.
And what did he say at one point? Come on, get up, soldier.
Yeah.
Which is what she said to him back in the first one. That's
Great
an Easter
callback.
egg.
That's a callback.
Okay.
That's a callback. You can get your movie terms right, homie. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Mention who? I hate you.
This is a little trivia thing that I'll just throw in now. Linda Hamilton almost didn't come back for this movie because, one, James Cameron almost didn't direct it. There were some issues with the writing and who was going to direct it. I guess she wasn't going to come back if he wasn't in charge of it. And she would only come back if she could play crazy. And that's one of the big reasons why they ended up putting her in the psych ward. And dude, she was believable.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. Especially for some other cut scenes that end up in this movie.
And not even as a crazy person, but as a person who's breaking because, one, they're somewhere they shouldn't be, and two, processing everything that happened.
Well, reality is unraveling on her. You can plainly see she's having trouble. She knows, like, in her head, this is real, but they're telling her it's not real. So she needs to do a balancing act so she can maybe see her kid, but then she's got this inner turmoil. Am I lying to myself? Should I surrender? Like, it's just a whole bag of crazy cats going on.
It becomes like, well, like, yeah, like you said, it's like, am I wrong? Did I imagine this?
Yeah, and then, well, maybe I should pretend it didn't happen. Maybe I should accept it didn't happen. But then that drives you crazy because you know it did happen.
And then her face when she finally does see the T-800. I know I'm jumping ahead a few minutes.
When she falls backwards, yeah.
So believable. Like, oh, my word, it was amazing. But we'll get to that here in a second.
Yeah, because
we do jump away from the ward and go back to the mall, which is one of my favorite parts of the whole movie.
John Connor good at video games.
He was good
so good at video games.
Shooting those missiles coming down.
And if it wasn't for Tim lying to a cop.
I don't know.
I know.
John Connor, like, if T-1000 would have saw him, like, right there and got a good clear shot, and the series done. Wrap.
Yeah.
Thanks for that little kid lying to a cop. So listen, boys and girls, I don't know what the moral of that story is, but take it for all it's worth. I'm not going to tell you to lie to cops. I'm just saying it worked out in this kid's favor.
Yeah.
He does get chucked to the side pretty
Yeah. Hey, I think I saw that kid. But one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, you know, he's running, he gets into this kind of like the back corridors of the mall where I guess security roams. I don't know.
That's usually where the bathrooms are in all our malls. You got to go back.
Well, yeah, that's true. And he comes around the corner and he sees Arnold, but he doesn't know who this is. He just knows he's being chased by a cop.
This is just a big giant biker dude. You're like, whoa, he looks scary.
And then the best part is he pulls a gun from a box of roses.
Where'd he get that?
Guns and Roses.
Right?
And immediately you think, oh, dude, he's about to blow this kid away.
Our friend calls them Pixels and Posies.
What?
The other Josh. Pixels and Posies.
That sounds like the name of an episode. And we immediately get to see, okay, who's good, who's bad here.
And you get to see that the T-1000 is something different.
Yes, exactly. And I did, again, in all my reading, I do apologize. I have so many random tidbits.
You don't apologize to these people.
Well, apparently, Robert Patrick.
I apologize.
Patrick Robert? Wait, what was it?
Robert Patrick.
Okay. Well, apparently, Robert Patrick was specifically told when you're shooting, always be shooting at John. So, like, there's a scene in that hall, a guy's pressed up against the wall, like, he's trying to get out of the way.
The Pepsi guy?
Yeah, there's so much Pepsi in this movie. He completely ignores him, could care less about this civilian. He's shooting at John Connor every single time. He's never shooting. Well, he's never shooting at Sarah. He's never shooting at the Terminator. He's always shooting at John Connor, which I just found that to be really interesting because in later movies, we do see the Terminator just kill people to get them out of the way, but not in this one. In this one, it was you and you only.
Well, you get to see a Terminator way in the future that's he's really nice to somebody. And I'll bring that up. It's in my notes. So I was like, yeah, that was nice of you. So yeah, the big giant fight scene, T versus T. They're throwing each other into walls. They're shooting. He doesn't really shoot the T-800 until like he whips him around and he uses himself as a shield. But then John tries to get away on a little motorcycle, and Robert Patrick's T-1000 has to chase him.
He does.
And do you know about that?
I do.
Well, what do you know about that? You're the trivia guy. You tell me the day.
He had to run
really fast.
So it's
he actually had to slow down.
So yeah, in training, I guess you'd say, or getting ready to be the T-1000, he had to teach himself how to breathe through his nose while running and not look like he's breathing, as well as not, pant or not, No, he was a firm believer, just like Arnold was in the first movie, in really portraying an android.
Authenticity, man.
So he wouldn't show any type of exhaustion or anything like that. I did read too that he never blinks once in the whole movie.
Yeah, that is correct.
Which is like Wednesday in the show Wednesday. She never blinks in the whole season.
I love that they had to keep reshooting the chase scene because Robert Patrick kept catching Edward Furlong.
Yes.
Like this little motorbike, I don't know how CCs work, but like he kept catching it like, you know how hard that would be? Like, I can't slow down, like make the bike faster.
Yeah.
Like he was in that good. It was like when we were talking about,
Danny Glover
running around the block,
ready to go. Oh man.
That would have been Murtaugh as a T-1000. Yeah. So we get the whole amazing chase scene. You get the one weird blunder, where the Robert Patrick's in the rig.
Yeah.
That looks like the one from the Stallone arm wrestling movie, over the top. Arnold goes flying off
when he ramps the motorcycle.
Yeah, he rams the motorcycle and comes down, and it's a completely different guy. Like that is not. And I know Arnold did as much as he could, but it's like a completely different guy.
So I did look up some of the differences between the original and the remastered, and apparently they do CGI Arnold's face on there, just like when the truck first comes down into that, what do you call it? Like
That's
drain,
an
aqueduct.
Yeah.
Both windshields pop out, and later they're there again. Well, in the remastered, they made sure they didn't come out. They erased that part, even though they really did. But
Patrick punches part of the windshield at one point.
Right. There's a continuity issue if you paid attention, but they fixed it all. But you very clearly see like that's a different person.
Yeah. I mean, stunt doubles, what are you going to do? But it's one of the best chase scenes ever.
Oh, yeah.
I love how, like, there's always something getting ran over. Like, he picks up John off the motorbike.
He pulls up next to him. And he just, like it's nothing, just picks him up, puts him down.
Pick things up and then put them down.
And then we get one of the coolest scenes in this movie where the truck rams into the bridge. It blows up. They keep on going on their little motorbike. And then you see the T-1000 walking out of the flames.
First, there's the big tire that rolls out, and Schwarzenegger, and that whole thing, how he trained himself to learn to cock, he's whipping the shotgun one-armed. I
forget who, but they said it was a callback to one of his favorite Western actors. I forget who it was though, because I guess that's how he used to reload his gun.
I wonder if that was like an Eastwood thing.
It wasn't Eastwood. I know that. I forget who.
I've not. Yeah, so they get away from him, and then you get another extra scene where you see the T-1000 in John's bedroom. You didn't see that one? Didn't see that? You looking like?
Oh no, I did. Okay, sorry, you skipped right past the best part of the movie.
What was that?
When he walks out of the fire.
Well, you'd already said it.
Yeah, I know. No, yeah, I didn't realize that was.
It was really. He walks out, and he just looks terrifying.
Yeah, it does.
But then he just went.
But apparently they used the behind the scenes footage of that, like the CGI part, in pretty much every documentary on CGI for like the next 25 years on here's how we started.
This movie was groundbreaking.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. I mean, James Cameron, he did Terminator, but then he also did The Abyss and he did Alien. And merging those three movies together, this is the result. And you can totally see all of the influences. It's like, we have the technology now. Let's do this type of thing.
I'm glad they did.
Oh, I know. But yeah.
If we wouldn't have got to make those movies, who knows what timeline we'd be living in now.
So you're talking about the scene where he's going through John's bedroom, like rubbing his hands on everything.
Yeah, I'd never seen that before. Like he's trying to get a beat on him or something, but he finds the secret
shoebox.
Shoebox, yeah.
Yeah, with his stuff about his mom in it. And...
Yeah, it's like I've only watched this version once, so it's hard for me to remember every single piece of the extra scenes, which then explains kind of how he takes over Janelle.
So the whole scene, though, with John Connor, like, realizing that, okay, the Terminator is programmed to only listen to me, that whole thing I felt was so cheesy. Like, stand on one foot.
They had to have comedy somewhere, I suppose. It is, I will admit, on a couple of rewatches, it's not my favorite part. And then I liked him when he messes with the jocks and he grabs him by his hair, but the whole keeping your foot up deal.
Yeah.
But I mean, but I'm thinking to myself, if I was an immature 12-year-old, I probably would have said some stupid shit like that too.
Well, yeah.
You know, wasn't a seasoned veteran like us.
But then it's immediately redeemed with the next scene on the phone.
Yeah, and that's the scene that you would normally jump to with the T-1000, you know.
Yeah.
Taking over the stepmom and killing the dad with a jug of milk.
Yeah.
It's just, but then you get the other scene where the T-1000 goes out to the dog. That was never in the other things I'd never seen.
They did the whole, what's your dog's name? Max. And he's like, how's Wolfie?
And he like looks at the collar after he kills
he went
the
out,
dog.
kills the dog, looks at it, it's Max. And I think that's when he realized, I've been duped.
Yeah. He's like, is there a little emotion in that T-1000? Is he a little salty from, I mean, he doesn't look happy. Not that Robert Patrick ever looks happy.
That's true too. At this point in the movie, though, we jump back to the ward. They're going to break Sarah Connor out.
Negative.
Dude, there is negative. There's a scene where we see them like basically tucking her in type of thing. And the orderly like licks her cheek.
Uh-huh. I always thought that was such a gruesome.
That was so creepy. Like that. I don't remember that from watching as a kid. They must have taken that off. Is that the one you messaged
me about?
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's always been there.
Yeah, I'm just like.
I even think that was on the TV version.
That it was just. Huh. I don't even know. It gave like hardcore like serial killer vibes.
I don't.
That's how a lot of the stuff in those old mental wards were. They were nobody checked up on it. Like,
I'm sure there's some crazy shit going on now.
Whew, wow, yeah.
You know, it'd been really funny if it instead of that guy would have been Ben Stiller's character from.
Don't say Zoolander.
No.
Okay.
No. Happy Gilmore. The elderly guy.
Yeah.
He's like, no, listen here, Grandma. It would have been really cool if it would have been Leather Jacket. Anyway, we're not going down that road.
You will go to sleep, or I will put you to sleep.
Go to sleep now.
But yeah, so there's a bunch of cool visual effects in the ward, like him turning into the floor. And this is one of those times where I was talking about when he turns into that guard who's at the vending machine.
Yeah, the twins. And
then the guard turns around and he kills him. Yeah, that wasn't like split screen. They refused to use split screen. James Cameron did. They were actual twins.
I like how he's just like shaking.
Yes. Just like there's multiple parts in this movie where, again, I didn't know it, but Linda Hamilton's a twin. So they had her sister come in for a lot of the scenes.
I didn't know until I researched it for this either. I had no idea.
Well, I guess the biggest reason they wanted her to come in was because Linda Hamilton was too buff. They knew that it wouldn't be believable in like some of the dream sequences that wasn't the same person.
Interesting.
I'm telling you, man, James Cameron, he thinks of everything.
Hammers those details.
He does. He really does.
I've heard that he's kind of been Kubrick-ish, where he's made people do scenes over and over and over again to get them right.
Well, he's a perfectionist.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have the whole thing where they got the T-1000, he's there at the same time, and then the T-800 shows up with John. He shoots the guard in the leg. He'll live.
Oh, man, he's like,
shoots him in the thighs.
Promise me you won't kill anyone. I promise I won't kill anyone. Or I swear I won't kill anyone. And then he shoots him in the leg.
He'll live. Yeah, so you go in there, the whole chase thing, and then Silberman sees the T-800. He's got the syringe in his hand because they finally got Sarah. They're going to get her down. And he just sits there. You see the needle top pop, just fall on the floor. He's like, oh my God, this shit is real. Like, what is happening? You can see a T-1000 go through the bars, but he can't take the gun through him. He's clanging. You get where he's the elevator scene. He's chasing him in the elevator. He's stabby. You know, they get down to the garage. They get chased off. You know, he gets part of his chunk. And then that's when you can see the pieces of him can be broken off, but then they can morph back into him.
Oh, yeah, because
really
there's like
cool.
the little hook thing in the back of the car that John throws off.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you see Robert Patrick running up, and then he, you know, kind of walks up and like gets his stuff back.
Yep.
And then they go on their run and they decide that maybe we can do some programming on this T-100 or something. This was like some extra scene shit that I'd never seen before.
Yeah, now this I knew I'd never seen.
Yeah, so they, in this extra scene, the T-100 sits there, they take out his microprocessor, or just processor, I don't know if it's micro, but this is supposed to be like future tech.
Yeah.
They take this, you know, take his device out of there, and so he's frozen, like he's not conscious, and she is going to destroy the Terminator, and John has this emotional scene where he has to convince her not to do it.
Yep.
And that, to me, I wish that scene would have been in there more, because it really, really shows how unhinged she is. Like, she is so emotionally charged and unhinged. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Like, she is balls to walls crazy.
Well, and you
in
see
this
a
scene.
lot more of that when they go to Mexico, too. Or
Yeah.
Texas. So, do you know how they actually did that scene with him, like they're sitting in front of the mirror?
Go ahead and tell me.
It wasn't a mirror. It was a window. So, on the side facing us, so like we see Arnold's back and everything, that's a mannequin. And then you see Edward Furlong leaning on the desk, and you see her doing her thing. On the other side of the window, that's supposed to look like a mirror, which they did an awesome job at making it look, you know.
They just did something like this on a recent TV show, and I can't think of it.
Arnold was on the other side, and they had, because you never see the other, you never see the other Sarah Connor's face on the other side of the mirror, just hands basically. So on this side, you see her working on his head, and on that side, you just see him sitting there with somebody's hands at his head, and the back of Edward Furlong's mannequin.
It's movie magic.
It is
The inventive nature of this.
incredible.
Well, she decides she's not going to kill the Terminator. She lets him wake back up. They decide to, you know, get some arsenals because they got to do some things. And they go, where do you say, Texas?
I think it was Texas, yeah.
Yeah, one of her old
Texas,
running buddies.
Mexico. It was down in that desert area.
Yeah, Enrique, I think is his name. Somebody that John Connor remembers from his brief stint down there with him.
Yeah.
You get a scene that I didn't remember before where John is talking to the Terminator about emotions.
Where he like does the high fives and teaches them to,
No.
or where he teaches them to smile.
Yeah, whole smiling thing
Yeah.
wasn't there before.
That was creepy.
Schwarzenegger, listen, he does some very good creepy smiling. I don't know how he does it, but yeah, the extra scene is what I wrote down there. Yeah, so they go down there and they're down there because I remember the scene where he picks up the minigun and he kind of is like, he gives that smirk. And as a kid, and even, you know, later on in life, I was like, it's kind of weird the Terminator just kind of smirks like that. Like, I don't quite, like, I understood watching Star Trek that Data's trying to evolve and be a human, but I was like, I didn't see that for a Terminator.
Right.
But when you put in the scene where he's talking about emotions and he's being taught to smile, it makes more sense.
Right.
Where it never really made sense to me before. You get Linda, not Linda, I'm sorry. You get
Sarah
Connor decides that she's going to go do her own thing.
after taking a nap.
Yeah, after taking a nap. Yeah, and like seeing
That's where we
burning
get that
playgrounds.
Yeah, the playground with the nuke and
Well, I wrote it down earlier because in the one she goes out of Pescadero to a playground, sees it on fire, and I guess I just wrote down. Well, they had when the bombs fell. There's there's a burning playground in the beginning somewhere. I know there is. Anyway, she has her daydream. Then she decides I'm gonna take care of Dyson myself, and that's when we get another extra scene where John and the Terminator are riding to go stop her. like they're on her heels. You know, she's ahead of them. And it's just, you kind of just get like some more, because I know you had asked some issues somewhere about the believability of Edward Furlong's acting, you know, from being a young kid. I think he did better in this scene, some more emotional engagement there.
It was just a lot of the lines that he was putting out, at least to me, it felt...
He's a brat.
It just felt like he was reading off a cue card. Like, it felt very forced. There's no real emotion behind a lot of it. I mean, there were some where it definitely felt real, but there was a lot where he just, like, same voice tone the whole time, no inflections, no emotion whatsoever, and I don't know.
I slightly disagree, but I can see where you're coming from.
But I also feel like he kind of did the same character in American History X.
And he kind of did the same character in Brain Scan, too, but...
So maybe it's just him.
I think it is him.
So, okay, here's my big question, though.
Okay.
This part irked me a little bit in this movie.
All right.
I understand that she just spent the past, like, what, 5, 6
we'll
years
just say 5. We'll just
in a mental ward.
Yeah.
I understand that everything she saw has got to take a heck of a toll on her. But at what point does that drive her from being a waitress at the beginning of T1 to more than willing to snipe dude in his bed or in his office with his kid in Terminator 2? And at what point does she... I mean, I know they said she spent time in Texas or whatever training with guns. But, like, at what point does she just decide, I'm going to abandon all of my morals and values?
I think it's through all the men she went through, all the experiences that we don't know about. I think she just slowly spiraled into being her own train wreck. She was so obsessed with this.
Like, she felt like she was alive for a single purpose.
I see what you're saying at the end of T1 to T2. It's a huge character jump.
Yes.
For her. If you're hanging around with a bunch of macho men and you're trying to learn warfare and teach your kid, and you're not really focusing on motherly things, it's all about weapons. The men that you're probably going to go into, and I'm sure there was women involved too, the girlfriends and wives, you're going to run into some biker people, some ex-military, you know, some really kind of unhinged people to begin with. You know, I don't want to I'll keep it a certain level here. I'm just saying that you're going to run into a lot of
hardened people
and people with a lot of certain energies, and it probably wears on your persona after a while. And then after you're already in trouble with the law. I mean, she probably got a couple quick charges on probably some theft or something, you know, of stealing like maybe some explosives or guns, or it's just all this balled into one, and then being told you can't see your kid, that you are crazy. I think she just eventually snapped. And then knowing that the Terminator's back and Judgment Day is coming and it's inevitable, like it's, you know, I don't know. It's a lot. I don't know if I would be the same person either. I don't know if I would go flip out on little kids, but, you know.
But would you be at a point where you could just, oh, that guy needs killed? Just go do it?
Yes. If I thought it was going to change the future and stop Judgment Day, yeah. At this point in the franchise, yeah. I think it makes sense for her.
I personally just have a hard time believing that she could go from one extreme to the other in the span of a couple years.
I mean, she didn't even
I guess it would
hug
be
or ask John how he was doing. She just wanted to know if he got shot.
Right.
You know,
and I guess it would be 12 years from the events of the first movie until this one, give or take. 10
to 12 years is a long time for a lot of different things. Listen, I've been with Emily now, we just hit 8 years. I was a different dude 8 years ago in certain aspects. As just being a good human being, you know, people change. So yeah, so she goes there to take out Dyson. She decides she's not going to because she's not going to snipe him and says she's just going to go in there. But there's a different scene where he's at his computer. His wife wants him to do some things, and he gets up, and that's when the shooting starts. Before it was cut differently on all the other versions, where that wasn't in there that I ever remember. Him complaining, hey, you promised the kids you were doing this. Get away from your computer. Get in here. That wasn't there before. But be that as it may, she ends up not killing him. Terminator shows up. John shows up. You get to see the Terminator hand, which is awesome.
Well, and I did really like that once they explained to him, hey, this is what is about to happen from your research. He immediately said, well, then we need to not do this.
Listen to me very carefully.
Well, I mean, it wasn't one of those arguments of, well, no, this is my life's work. No, he was just like, oh, crap, then we should stop.
Yeah. What bugs me though is like, we're going to do it tonight. We're going to do it right now. We're going to do it tonight. Like, but that's probably going to not work out well. Johnson, you can't just leave the monitor. Like, yeah, the security guard guy.
Yep. But then because they do it tonight, we get that incredible minigun scene. Where he's like,
Yes.
I'll buy us time or whatever. And he goes out and just starts mowing down police cars.
They go to Cyberdyne. A bunch of cops show up to stop them. Arnold takes care of the cops with 0 casualties. You get that amazing helicopter scene with the T-1000. Get out, which is done practical. I think that's in your notes somewhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was all done practical. The helicopter van chase scene, yeah.
But you get the Abyss getting into the helicopter thing.
Yeah.
I think it's like the T-1000, just like he's an Abyss type person. But one of my favorite parts about this is not just the minigun, it is Dyson dying. The way that guy dies with the breathing. Do you know how much longer I can hold this? And he finally stops breathing and boom. It just, wow.
So
he was in Speed, wasn't he? Was this guy also in Speed?
I don't remember.
I think he's in Speed as well.
But
great actor.
2 fun little facts about that scene. The police, whatever, the assault team guy who comes in and he's like right there looking at him. I can't remember the guy's name though. He's the one that plays Hank in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, he's the DEA guy.
Yeah.
And he's also in Lethal Weapon number 2.
Yes.
He's at the poker game.
And the other thing is Joe Morton playing Miles Dyson. He actually had a collapsed lung at that while they filmed that scene.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
So, and I guess
mean, it's not awesome. He had a collapsed lung. But.
I guess that like they were willing to wait, and he wanted to just do it anyways because he felt it brought realism. And so a lot of his wheezing and stuff. I mean, yeah, he exaggerated it for the scene, but a lot of the wheezing and stuff you hear is genuinely from him trying to breathe.
The sweat on this guy's face, how wet he looked, and how he looked clammy.
Yeah,
my mom used to say to me, Michael, you look clammy. Are you feeling okay? Like he looked so
awesome,
sick.
Actor. And I love that
sick.
His idea of I guess justice almost is he's holding part of the giant processor model above the trigger. And that's what actually ends up triggering the explosion.
Yeah. And we'll talk about Danny Dyson later on.
Yeah. Yeah, we will.
One of my biggest issues.
And something I have written down in my notes, just I thought it was great. The whole van helicopter chase. I loved that they didn't do some like super fancy, footwork, or they didn't try and like do some way over the top, hardcore, far-fetched way of getting away from the helicopter. No.
Hit the brakes.
Brake check.
It was amazing. Boom.
It was just, it's something that, yeah, like that could happen.
Dude, he's in that stupid truck. This vehicle's top speed. I could get out and run faster than that. I just wanted to look at it and go, you feel free to try or something. Just like,
yeah. And then, of course, we're pretty much explaining the whole movie, but it is easily, in my opinion, the best of the entire franchise.
You have to explain these movies because so many amazing things happen in between.
That is true. And after all of this insanity, we're just now getting to the climax of the movie. The steel plant.
Another factory, steel plant.
Which I even have written down right here. Everything about the steel plant was perfect, from the music to the execution. Everything about that entire sequence of scenes was so beautifully done.
And I feel you occasionally hear some metal clanging, like some iron slamming against each other.
Oh, I'm sure.
I feel like you do.
I'm sure.
Just goes with it.
I mean,
and of course you get your. You go ahead. I think you know what we're going to say here. The liquid metal.
Thank you. We get the liquid nitrogen scene, which is the one scene that I remembered so vividly as a kid. Was it spills out, the T-1000's walking through it, and you see it slowly freezing up his legs, and then all of a sudden his foot breaks off. And then the other foot, and then he falls to his knees, and he falls over.
And he turns aside, and his mouth is like kind of open.
So
like he's kind of like freaked out.
Again, James Cameron coming in clutch. Do you know what he did for authenticity in that scene?
I do, but I'm going to let you tell me anyway. You tell the fans what they did.
He brought in an actual amputee to play the brief part when he's on his knees looking, and he looks up and he tries to take another step and falls forward. Because he didn't want to do CGI. He wanted it to look real.
And it did.
I
mean, if Terminators are real.
Yeah. See, I'll never forget that part of the movie. That is like the...
It's one of the greatest practical effects in any movie that's ever been made.
Yes.
And then the Terminator, the T-800 notices he's melting. He's coming back together. He's like, fuck.
And I love the scene of them, like, of the bubbles coming together, or the puddles.
The mercury.
Yes, thank you. I was going to say it looked like mercury, and I think they actually used
I think it is mercury. Yeah.
It was just so well done. And so they never really say anything about it. But you can tell that the freezing and breaking and coming back together damaged the T-1000.
Because of the extra scene of the T-1000's hand stuck on the yellow and his feet getting stuck. That was never in the cuts I've ever seen.
Oh, really?
Never saw that before in my life.
Okay.
Brand new.
Because you see him flicker a little bit when he's trying to hold the
his hand.
Book. And then his hand like merges into the rail for a second, and then his feet are merging into the floor. Which is
breaking down.
Which they also didn't show that in the original. That's how John Connor knew which was his mother.
Which makes more sense because in the original...
It was just shoot.
Yeah, it was like he just knows who his mom is. Yeah. Now it makes sense how he knew because the colors aren't right.
Yeah.
Yo, homie, you got something wrong going on down there. You want to check that out.
Mom, what's wrong with your feet?
Oh,
and then we get the shotguns and just... I mean, when he puts the finger through Sarah's shoulder.
Call him.
Yes. It is so creepy.
I felt so bad for the 800 that he kept getting slammed with that big giant metal beam.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, stop hitting my boy, man. Like, come on.
Then he gets his arm broken off in the one gear.
He just won't quit, though. He absolutely will not stop.
No.
Ever.
Oh, my word. And then, of course... coming up over the one conveyor belt, here comes Arnie with a grenade launcher.
It blows him, and then when his head's like kind of off to the side, he's,
you're gonna say exactly what's in my notes, aren't you?
I don't know. I don't have any more notes, so you go ahead. I have one more note, but that's it.
I felt that was a direct reference.
Oh yeah,
to John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yes.
Was it?
I don't know, but
it sounded similar. It had the same like weird. I don't know, like. Oh, it's great. And then he falls in. You see him like going through all those the different people he turned into.
Which will kind of turn into a theme later on about some of these Terminators when they pass on.
But did you know the images of him like screaming in the what do you call it?
Liquid metal,
the molten lava.
Yeah.
They were actually shots of James Cameron yelling that they put in as his face was like changing because why not?
Sure. The only thing I have is after all this, there's one more extra scene that shows Sarah Connor and John Connor when they're older at a fucking playground, and John Connor's become a senator and he's got kids. And yeah, I don't remember I don't know if it was the actor from the first movie or not who played John Connor. Well, from the beginning, it's the actor from the very beginning of this because you see John Connor.
Yes. When they say he was a resistance leader. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a few things I didn't like about this movie, though, was that ending. First off, I don't know. It didn't feel like it.
Well, that wasn't the regular theatrical ending, so there's probably a reason you're just now seeing that one. And I didn't really jive a lot with that one either.
Like I said before, I wasn't a huge fan of some of Edward Furlong's acting. Like I felt a few of his squeaky, prepubescent, yelling and. It was like nails on a chalkboard to me. Like some of it, I did not like.
Like, are you talking specifically in the scene where the 800 says, "No, your parents are dead," and then he says that the next thing he's going to do is going to go find your mom, kill your mom, and wait for you. And he just starts jumping up and down and screaming. He has to go save her. That right there, I was like, that was young kid acting.
Yeah,
we can't all be Robert Redford.
Another one is the T-1000 being fully liquid metal. My only issue with that was we clearly saw that the T-800 needs a processor. In later movies, they even mention that the liquid metal can't keep shape because there's no processor to like give it sentience, stuff like that. So how did the T-1000 function if it's 100% metal? There's no circuitry, there's no processing units.
I thought about maybe nanites, but even nanites would have been destroyed at some point, like when it got, I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of, some super crazy nanite technology that's inside the metal And I'm only going from a Star Trek Voyager standpoint with the...
I mean, it was definitely just a movie magic. Like,
Yeah.
you know, suspend your beliefs or whatever, disbelief, whatever the saying is. But it kind of, like, they did so well at trying to keep things fairly realistic, so to speak. Except for that.
I give him a 9 out of 10 for keeping it realistic, though.
Well,
'Cause,
yeah.
like, like, I've seen some other cybernetic movies, you know, like Cyborg with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Didn't do justice.
That movie was rough.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Gibson Rickenbacker was his name in that movie.
I do have some trivia. I won't say Easter eggs.
Okay. Well, don't if they're not Easter.
If you want to hear any of it.
I do. It's not. Well, listen, dude. I don't want to hear any of this. I already know. The fans, the listeners.
All right, all 8 people that make it this far.
Hey, we're getting over 60 per.
Yeah, but how many make it past the intro?
Does it count it if it's a full? I don't know.
I have no idea. So Terminator 2, it was renowned for its groundbreaking special effects and CGI at the time, especially those used to create the T-1000. This was one of the very first films to take that kind of technology and use it to such an extent. Like, not just as, you know, the Abyss as the creature, but no, as a full, almost every scene has it in it.
This movie set the bar
Enemy.
for a lot of things.
It really did.
A lot of movies in the future that have stolen from it, and a lot of movies have stolen from it and failed to recreate the magic as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Another fun fact, Schwarzenegger was paid $15 million for his role in this movie.
Oh, yes. Yes.
He spoke about 700 words in this movie. So the math equals around $21,429 per word.
That's ridiculous.
I know, right?
It was crazy. Like, before he even started his career as an actor, he was already like a millionaire.
Oh, yeah. I mean, from all of his bodybuilding champions.
And he used that money to buy property in California.
Oh, okay.
I watched a documentary last year, and it was pretty insightful about him. And
good to know.
I loved it.
The thumbs up scene at the very end when he's lowering down in, that was completely improvised. I guess it was his idea to put in there, and they loved it, obviously. I couldn't find who it was from, but I did find multiple sources saying that James Cameron received a letter from some science organization or scientist of some sort, I'm not 100% sure, thanking him for creating the most realistic depiction of a nuclear explosion in cinema to date. That it was the most realistic, here's what would happen, that had ever been seen in a movie.
When I think of Hiroshima and the horrific things have happened, and you watch the scene in this movie, when I learned as a kid that people's shadows were burned into a wall, here, you could see how that would happen. Like, people just disintegrate and just get burned into ashes. And
like that video you sent me of Marge Simpson where they parodied this.
Yeah.
That was great. That really was. Especially that her skull goes all the way up into her hair.
I like that this movie has spawned all the John Connor memes of John Connor just sitting here watching all you guys get friendly with AI.
Yes. Yes.
Like, you know how this is going to turn out, right? Elon Musk told you.
So apparently Robert Patrick spent time not only observing people that he would be imitating, you know, for authenticity. I guess he also took time to study how sharks move so that whenever he's like pushing through crowds, like in the arcade, it would have that
no wasted
like that
movement.
laser focused, like really dove into the rabbit hole of how can I make this 100% realistic and believable. And he did a heck of a job.
I don't know. We will see other people play T-1000-ish or actual T-1000s. And I'm not saying to do a horrible job at all. There's some other Terminators in this series that I think are fucking awesome, but nobody does the Robert Patrick.
No, I think he was...
There's 2 Terminators, and that's Arnold and that's Robert Patrick. The other ones are just...
Other than Arnold, I think he was the single best casting choice to play a Terminator.
And even Arnold kind of changes throughout time, but if you like take Arnold from the first movie and Patrick from this one, it's like, who really was like because Arnold was like a straight machine in the first one. This one, he's a machine, but like, oh, maybe I'm going to smile. Maybe I'm going to do this or that. Whereas Robert Patrick was kind of like that same first Terminator. He was just
emotionless.
Focus.
So the very last little tidbit I have about this movie is one that I saved for last because I thought it was just mind blowing. Nowadays, not as much probably, but for the early 90s, again, practical effects. The chase scene with the helicopter and the van, the scene where the T-1000 flies the helicopter under the overpass was 100% real. It wasn't models, it wasn't CGI, it was a stunt pilot actually flying it under a bridge at high speeds, chasing a minivan. I mean...
Yeah, you would definitely not get that today. Well, first off, insurance companies aren't going to cover it.
No. That's what I mean. I
don't know why they just don't do... I know, like I just said, but there's got to be like so many other stupid reasons why I have to get a fake... Every time there's a truck scene that's being chased, a Fast and the Furious stupid... It's just so fake. And you can instantly get it.
Oh, yeah.
You watch this movie and you're like, oh, shit, that's... Wow. Like there's a reason T2 stands up today as one of the greatest sci-fi action movies of all time, of both genres. I will put it up there with Star Wars. I'll put it up there with The Wrath of Khan. I'll put it up there with Lethal Weapon or Platoon or any of those other action. It's just so authentically done.
Jump back to the aqueduct. When they ramped the motorcycle down in, that wasn't a dude on cables being held up by a crane.
Oh, no, you get you get some rubbery motorcycle now that would...
Well, that's what I mean. Like, or they would have like crane on cables they edit out that lowers you down. No, then it was a legitimate, hey, can you ramp off of that wall that's, 12 feet high? It was
some straight Dukes of Hazzard shit.
I mean, nowadays...
I'm sorry, did I get canceled for saying Dukes of Hazzard? Well, whatever. I love Dukes of Hazzard.
Hey, I don't care what our political state is. If I ever had the opportunity to own the General Lee, I would take it.
Oh, man, okay. You know, those Chargers or Challengers, any of those cars that they had in those shows, man. Whew.
Oh, man. But yeah, that's all I've got for T2. My personal honest opinion, the best of the franchise.
Oh, it is.
I rate it number 2, then number 1. I mean, I hate to say it because number 1 was the start of it all. It was
rewatchability.
Phenomenal.
If you had to rewatch one, if you were forced to watch one 3 times in a row, I'd watch T2 3 times in a row before I would the first Terminator.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. The first one's grimy too. I didn't really mention it. It's such a grimy, dirty movie.
Well, it was made to be a darker, like you said before, more of a horror feeling movie. A lot like the first Alien. It was based on suspense and darkness.
Dark spaces, claustrophobia, all those type of things.
No, what claustrophobia? Crawling in a machine that's only like a foot high. Ugh.
All right, let's move on to Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, 2003. What's your IMDb, LMNOP score for this one?
IMDb gives it a 6.3 out of 10.
Rotten Tomatoes critics a 70, 46 for the audience. Ooh, it's a little rough. What about the budget? How much budget we got on this bad boy?
So the T3 was a $187.3 million production.
And you don't know domestic returns?
I don't know domestic returns, but I do know it was considered a success because it brought back $433.4 million worldwide.
Only made $150 here.
It was the highest budget movie so far of the 3. Would you call it a trilogy so far, maybe?
At this point, I would call it a trilogy because it carries on after part 2.
Well, it was the highest budgeted film of the 3, but it brought in a revenue lower than Terminator 2. Like, significantly lower.
And that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And we'll get into why. This one, I'm gonna have to disappoint all my adoring fans. I'd never seen. I realized I remember watching the first 2. I never saw anything after T2. So this was all first-time watches for me.
So from T3 to T6
are all first-time watches for me.
Wow.
Yeah. Kind of like Die Hard. I never saw the last 3 until recently. Lethal Weapon. Never saw any of them until recently.
This is the first one I saw in theaters. I mean, the first one was 84. I was 1.
So I think it's interesting. We jumped to 2003, though. The last one was 91. They really just took their time with sequels on this one.
I'm not sure they really... There was probably some fight back, like, do we want to mess with T2? Do we want to mess with T1? Do we want to mess with how amazing these movies were? And I think over time, well, they let it gestate, and it did make 433 million worldwide. So, I mean, people were clamoring to like, oh my God, we got another Terminator coming out? What?
This one, however, there was some pushback because Cameron was not the director of this one. In fact, I forget who was, but I remember there was a lot of issues because there was other writers that were kind of stepping in, and he didn't like that they were trying to basically take over his brainchild, his franchise.
That makes sense.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But
Well, it's like Carpenter did the first Halloween, and everything after that, he was just like, well, I
Yeah.
haven't watched them. I don't really care. He did some producing on some of them, but it was basically
Yeah.
just to have his name there.
But I mean, I just feel like it really reflects in this movie.
Yes. Probably from some of the cinematography, some of the angles, some of the
Everything.
dialogue choices. I mean, they tried to keep some action, but this one to me turns more like the first one's kind of a horror killer robot trying to kill you. The second one is we're going to up the ante on that, but maybe it'll make it a little bit more slick and a little more big. This one's just we're going to do a sci-fi action movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's killer robots, but it's a little different.
And who are the killer robots, Michael?
Kristana Loken plays the Terminatrix.
Or TX?
TX. Well, they're apparently from James Cameron, Terminators are the males and Terminatrix are the females. And it was the same
it's
time where he explained the
nothing to do
Models
with-
101s.
Nothing to do with Dominatrix or anything.
Well, I mean, rolls off the tongue. Certain way.
And of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger's back to play the Terminator. T-101.
So we get Nick Stahl taking over for Edward Furlong as John Connor. If there's any big fans of the Lumineers out there, they do a lot of concept album type things where the videos kind of are all one big story. The second one they did was on Donna, and Nick Stahl plays a huge character in all these music videos, which is
okay.
like So I guess after he did this movie, like Nick Stahl kind of disappeared. Like he legitimately, from what I remember, and so like hearing it in the news, like he was gone. Like people didn't know where he was. Like Nick Stahl has disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah, and then he shows up in the Lumineers videos, and I was like, I thought that guy disappeared. So I mean, he's back, and he's seems to be good these days. So, yeah.
We've also got Kate Brewster as Claire Danes, another main
How
character.
about Claire Danes as Kate Brewster?
I have that written down backwards.
Yes, Claire Danes from that Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet movie.
Yep. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, I also had written down here that, was it Kristana Loken?
Yes.
She was in a whopping 1 episode part of the Lethal Weapon series.
Oh, the TV show.
Yeah. I just thought you'd like that because you love Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, that's a good throw in. I appreciate it.
And then coming back, because why not, is Earl Bowen
He's the glue of the franchise.
as the Shrink Silberman yet again.
I mean, listen, his arc makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
It like all the way up to this one, it makes sense from when we get there. It definitely does. I don't think there's any other really main characters. There's the guy that plays Kate's
Well,
dad.
this is the last one that he's in then.
Yeah. I can't remember Kate's dad. Do you have that written down who
I
that
don't.
actor is?
I don't, because he didn't play a major part, really.
Yeah, I mean, he just started Skynet, but sure.
Exactly. So I am happy to report that this movie does not start with Arnold's ass. Instead, we get to see Kristana Loken's ass.
And a slight boobage.
Slight. And then not long later, we see Arnold's ass.
You got to have Arnold ass in there somewhere.
Now, my huge issue with the beginning of this movie, right off the bat. Oh, and by the way, my notes say, finally not Arnold's ass, and then underneath it, never mind.
But that's not the beginning of the movie, though. The beginning of the movie is about John. Before her. Before she shows up, it's about John.
Scratch everything I said. Start that over then.
No, we don't have to start it over. I'm just saying,
Starting it over.
we talk about John's off the grid, and he's drinking horrible Budweiser. Just not Bud Light, which is whatever, but he's drinking, but no wonder he's going like mad. Like he's drinking Bud. What are you doing, John? Like, John, come on, John.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he's off the grid.
Working like odd jobs and...
Yeah, he's like, we stopped Judgment Day. I don't want to, I'm going to stay off the grid. I'm going to stay away from everything. I don't want to be any part of anything ever happening again. And then we see, he like almost hits a deer, or he almost hits the deer. He crashes his bike, and then we jump to Kristana Loken showing up and saying, "Hey, I like your car," to that chick, and then you hear her murder, but you don't see the murder.
Yeah, give or take.
This one here, I feel like you don't see as much of some killing as you do other ones.
This movie was still rated R at 1 hour and 49 minutes, so a little shorter by, a half an hour than the last movie. But I felt like this movie was very silly at points. Like they tried to make it lighter.
Are you talking about the Arnold Schwarzenegger appearance?
No, before that, when the TX gets pulled over.
Oh, by Kowalski from Stargate SG-1?
Yes.
And she's like, I like your gun. And he's like, wait, what?
Wait.
And then you don't see him die.
She looks up at the billboard and sees a lingerie model. So
go gadget boobs.
So she makes her boobs bigger. It's just like little stuff like that seeing in theaters, you laughed, but you're like, really?
I didn't think about it because I hadn't seen the movies all the way through. I didn't remember them, but I, do my horror movie watch. I've been watching the Critters movies. Now, the alien hunters from those movies come down to stop the critters. Well, they're faceless. They're kind of morphless. Like, they're just like bodies. Well, you can be a male or female. It doesn't matter. Well, one of them they both come down, and she, at the time, it just picks up a magazine of a Playboy, and it takes the appearance of a Playmate. And there's a point where it looks up at a billboard, at a super hot chick on a billboard, and then just enhances herself to look like the woman on the billboard. And that was like way before Terminator 3.
I feel like I've seen that ploy before.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure there's been another one. So they all I know is Terminator 3 stole from Critters. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough. And then, yes, we jump over and we have Arnold again going into a bar to get, to find his clothing. And it's ladies' night with male strippers. And that whole thing just felt ridiculous to me.
Very silly.
Talk to the hand.
Talk to the hand.
And I was half expecting to see him walk out with like assless chaps on or something.
I thought that as well when I saw this in the theater. And we did skip over where we meet Kate's dad for the first time because he's nervous about starting up Skynet. So even before the silliness, he's like, well, so you just want to hand over all the nuclear armaments to a computer?
Yes.
We think that's a good idea.
He's
the voice of reason right away.
He's very skeptical about it.
Like, yeah, he's been working on this project, but he's like, I think he says, I want to still keep it in human hands as long as possible.
Yes.
Yeah. So shout out to that guy for trying not to be a dumbass.
This is true. Yep. So where we go from there, we find out that the Terminatrix has a hit list.
Yeah. She goes into a drive-through and somehow is sitting on the other side. Like she's on the wrong direction. Like you go to a drive-through, the driver is next to the drive-through window. When she goes there, she is not. She's the opposite direction.
What?
Yeah. If you go back and watch it, she is on the opposite side. And remember, I lost my T3 notes, so I had to rewatch.
Yeah.
To write my notes down again. And I was like, yeah, she is definitely.
So she went through the drive-through backwards?
Yeah, but it doesn't look. It's weird. You need to watch it. Everybody out there, figure this scene out for me. Why is she not next to the drive-through when she goes through and kills this person?
We're going to have to look it up later.
I don't know. It's very, very strange. Yeah, she's got a hit list. We don't know why she's killing these people. At this point, we have no clue. Why is she murdering these people? She's a killer party ender. She goes to a house party with these punk kids, and she just, kind of like Sarah Connor. Like, she says the kid's name, I don't remember, it doesn't matter, and she just starts blasting this kid out of nowhere.
Poor kid.
And I'm curious, because she has to also kill the sister. So what happened with all the other people there? Because there was, probably 5 to 10 other people there.
They just kept partying.
Yeah. Oh, that was cool, bro. Hell yeah. Just get their glow sticks out and do. So a Darude type time Sandstorm playing.
He's like, so it wasn't your mom? Yeah. So shortly after this, we do finally get into meeting. Well, the Terminators meeting our main character. We find him at a a veterinary clinic.
Yes, John Connor, after his accident with the deer, he needs to get to the vet because that's. I mean, how many times have we seen somebody do this whole thing? And obviously, of course, it's her vet. It's Kate's, places, can't think of her name. It's not Julia Stiles. It's the other lady. Claire Danes.
Why did Julia Stiles come up?
They're similar. They're similar actresses.
Are they?
I mean, there's redheadish people that were really big at the same time. Flat-chested, not the greatest acting range, whatever. John Connor ends up at, after his whole deer accident thing, ends up at the vet. And of course, it's Kate's vet's place. She gets a phone call with, she's in bed with her fiance. God, man, when they're doing their wedding registry, why is he wearing 3 sweaters or what are we doing here?
They were trying to make him look like a douche so that you didn't like him.
Yeah, was he the James Spader of the movie? They should just cast Leather Jacket, but whatever. It's fine. So yeah, she goes and they interact. She's like, "Oh my God, what are you doing here?" But then, oh, here's a wrinkle. Another lady shows up because she has an issue with her cat. So I'm curious, the phone call that she initially gets, does she go to the vet because there was an alarm that went off, or does she go because of the emergency visit because of this lady's cat or dog, wherever it is?
I was under the assumption that it was like an alarm company calling to tell her, but now I don't know.
Yeah, another strange thing. Sharp writing here, guys. Sharp writing. So yeah, but then the old TX shows up, takes out the cat lady. I think it's a cat lady, parrot lady. I don't know. Whatever lady
It was a cat lady.
Was a cat lady. Takes her out after Kate and John have argued about Kripke's basement, and he's confuzzled about what that means. And she's going to kill them, and then you get good old stripper T-800 shows up, slamming through the wall.
In his assless chaps.
And this amazing practical effects. So this is, we instantly realize as viewers that this movie is going to have some CGI. I don't know when The Matrix came out. It had to have been around this time, right?
I want to say it was 1999.
99. What was, but so part 3 with the whole 1,000 Agent Smiths would have been around this time with the CGIs, you think?
What year was this? 03?
This
yeah,
is 03.
Probably close to that.
You're getting that type of CGI, this rubbery kind of video game-ish CGI.
Yes, Matrix came out in 99. Matrix Reloaded, which is the second one, was in 03. He fights a whole bunch of Agent Smiths. And then the third one was in, it says 03, but that's not right.
Yeah, well, they came out like 6 months apart from each other.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, because I remember in the theater for part 2, and then it
03.
just ended, and I was like, what the fuck?
Then, yeah, the third one was also 03 then, okay.
Yeah, I think it was like at the beginning of the year, and then the other one came out in like Christmas or something. I don't know. But yeah, it had that same type of CGI, which is going to start being a theme, at least in this movie. Yeah, so they go on an escape. T-800 saves them. The TX blasts energy at them, so you realize she now has energy blasts.
Yep, her arm like transforms.
So all the cops show up because all this commotion's going on. T-800's knocked out because, he can get knocked out now in a way. He's been like zapped by her energy. They can't pick him up, the paramedics, because he's like super heavy. But then
that was humorous though.
This is a different Terminator. This one can control cars. At this point, this one we know she can control cars.
They played it off that she has some type of nanites that controls any technology.
She can control the OnStar that is,
and it can move the shifter.
Yeah. This is also, it reminded me of like some of it's this Fast and the Furious stuff where like that's not what cars do.
No,
but that's what they do in this unit. It's a different universe. It's a Terminator universe. The old ass dial-up sound when she's hacking the car.
Yeah.
Like, John goes away. He's with Kate. He smashes into a dude. This road rage guy. He's pissed. He's like, "Get out of the car." John has no door on his truck. This guy's coming closer and closer. Poor John is like, dude, I do not want to fight this 6'2" dude. Like, I'm not into this. But don't worry, the car does start, and then a high speed chase happens. He's like, oh great, the cops are here. No, it's the controlled cop cars.
Yep. And then pretty much everything starts blowing up.
Yes. You get the whole cool. I did like when the crane hook drops into the sewer, and then the whole entire thing. And I feel like every movie after this now had to have some sort of bus, RV, giant thing flip slowly. Michael Bay's like, I'm putting that in every movie. I wish Michael Bay would have done this movie, actually, because they would have probably been pretty good.
Now
Back when Michael Bay was doing some decent things.
Now that you said it, he's going to do Terminator 18.
I mean,
it's just going to be one big lens flare.
I like the island. Leave the island alone. The new Star Trek movies do that too, though.
But all in all, the chase scene was pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the CGI, but it's still done pretty well.
Yeah.
It was not a huge issue for me. Hydrogen fuel cells, whatever.
Real quick, though, what did you think of poor, what's her name, Claire, whatever, being locked in the back for the entire thing?
You learn the Terminator lies.
Yeah.
He like throws her in the back of the pet vehicle, and he's like, where's John Connor? And she's like, I'm not going to tell you. He's like, where's John Connor? And she's like, if I tell you, will you let me go? And he's like, yes. She tells him that he's in a cage, so he just shuts the door and like puts the
crowbar in it.
Yeah, the wheel, the lug nut. Fucking call those things actually go, and not because it's not a four-way.
Tire iron.
Yeah, so he throws it in there and he uses the tire iron, and then you're like, wait a minute, he lies now? This is because we never see a Terminator lie to this point. I mean, sort of lie, but never like point blank.
Oh yeah.
Yes, no, lie.
T1, it would have been no. I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, like the Terminator, like the T-1000, like sort of. He's like, hey, I'm looking for this kid. Didn't say what he wanted with him.
He never lied though.
Yeah, but this T-800 like totally is gonna lie. So. Yeah, the whole chase thing happens. You learn that he's like, what the hell happened? You shouldn't be here. We stopped the Terminator. We stopped Judgment Day. He's like, no, you didn't. You know, it's inevitable.
Postponed it.
Yeah, you only postponed it. It's always going to happen. He tells you right there. It's going to happen no matter what. You see these injured from the energy blast. He requires a cutting tool. I watch this movie twice, man. Just like the last.
I know.
It throws out the hydrogen fuel cell that runs a Terminator. We now know that that's their power source. I'm not sure where the hydrogen fuel cell was in T1 and that model 800.
You mean why it didn't blow up the whole factory? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember the thing.
This is T800 version 2 maybe.
Yeah, sure. Should have been like a T801.
T102.
No, that's the skin. The 102 is
Oh,
the
that's
skin.
right. That's right.
So anyway, he throws out and a giant nuclear or baby nuclear explosion happens, kind of blows the truck around a little willy-nilly. And it kind of looked like Arnold was startled by that. Like, I don't know. It was like, why was that Terminator startled by that? He should have known it was coming. That kind of bugged me. Then a bunch of bad jokes at the gas station happen.
And we make our way to one of the worst parts of the movie. Funny.
The anti-Terminator Terminator?
Yes.
Or the dead fiance tag-along.
Yes.
I'll help you find her. Yeah, so the Terminatrix goes to and finds the boyfriend, the fiance, gets killed off screen. Some cops show up. They're like, hey, we saw him at a gas station. Well, they're asking where she is, but then they hear about over the radio or something. Anyway, he's like, I'm going to go with you. And they're like, sure, you can ride along with us, fiance guy, because that seems safe.
That's what police do. They take civilians.
Yeah, and these look like inept Keystone cops anyway, so who gives a shit? We find out where Sarah Connor's been buried. What happened to Sarah Connor? Well, we find out that she died of what?
Cancer.
Cancer.
Off screen.
Off screen, of course. And he's like, I didn't even know where my mom was buried. How did you not know where your mom was buried?
Well, you still don't, because that wasn't her real grave.
Yeah, like he never really explains why they never like talk to each other for much after that. But her grave is not her grave. In the mausoleum is a shit ton of guns.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and cops are closing in. They know they're coming. They know they're there.
Which I feel like they stole in Marvel's TV series Secret Wars.
Because never watched it all the way through.
There's a scene where Nick Fury goes into a mausoleum, but he hits like special buttons and does an eye scan, technology. And then some of them start like opening up little drawers with weapons and stuff in them.
Of course. Yeah, so, but John Connor's like, screw this. I'm done with all this. I'm not doing anything. Terminator grabs him by the throat. And he's like,
you're right.
You're right. You're not the leader. You're a piece of shit, and I'm going to murder you right now. John Connor gets mad. Terminator's like, that's the spirit. And he's like, basically psychology is one of my subroutines. He's like reverse psychology, dumbass.
Yeah. And
John's like, oh, screw you. But they got to get out of there because the cops are closing in.
It was interesting, though, how they kept doing callbacks to Terminator 2. Like, no, he remembered, you have to listen to me. Like,
I was not. He's like, that was a different model.
Yeah. And then we find out that he doesn't have to listen to him at all.
No, not at all. The Terminator carries a casket out. He's like shooting.
With John in it.
Yeah. And then the Keystone cops are getting closer. So the TX, in one of my favorite scenes, which kind of reminds me of Candyman in a way, the TX kills the passenger cop, then punches through the driver cop, grabs a hold of the steering wheel as the other cop is dying, which they don't show anybody dying really on screen until now, which this scene was good. Like, this is a good horror movie scene right here. He's just driving from the back seat. This just do. It doesn't. This is, the T-1000 would consistently change right back to who it was when it was done.
Yeah.
The TX kind of chills in his body for a minute. Kind of chills in the boyfriend. He's like, yeah, I like this. I like this. Kate runs away.
Of course.
Cop car shows up.
She doesn't run to the hordes of police that, even though they don't have vehicles, are still there. No, she runs out into a graveyard by herself.
Yeah. Keystone cops show up. Boyfriend gets out. She's like, oh, it's you. And she's like, oh, wait a minute. It's not you. And then it changes into the TX. But don't worry. A hearse is coming. The Terminator, the 800's driving a hearse. What doesn't it just like slam into the TX and the CGI of her flying? It was out of a cartoon.
It was basically just you see it come over, boom. It was so bad.
Yes, and they have to all take off. The TX chases them. Chaos ensues. They do eventually get away. I do believe, right? They do get away.
Yeah,
I think they. Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, because John's struggling with his destiny. Well, Dr. Silberman's there for a minute.
Yes.
That's right. She runs after meeting Dr. Silberman, and he's all talking about his...
And then he sees Arnold come out. That's when he breaks out the side of the building with the
the coffin.
coffin. And he's just like, he's real?
Yeah, and he's like, oh, shit.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, but it's such a bad movie.
Yeah, there's like a rocket launcher involved.
I totally forgot though. The chain gun that he uses in Terminator 2 when he's at Cyberdyne Systems, I totally forgot. That is the exact same model that is carried by what's his name in Predator.
Oh, Jesse the Body.
Yep,
Oh, that's awesome.
It's supposed to be the exact same model as a callback.
What? See, now that's kind of an weird.
Is that an Easter egg?
That's sort of an
Is
Easter
that an Easter
egg. That might be. I love here that in this chase from the cemetery, they drive under the semi. So as a kid,
Take the roof off.
I don't know how many times I've seen Christmas Vacation. And I always thought you could definitely drive underneath the semi.
Yep.
And then the Fast and the Furious movie showed me that you totally can drive underneath the semi. And then I'm on the highway looking next to a semi and I'm like, my Dodge Dart is not driving underneath that semi. I will die. But somehow...
Hey, I have been hit by a tractor trailer before while driving.
You didn't drive under it?
No.
It didn't drive over you?
I was driving and I was next to it, passing it slowly. I mean, I didn't we were going up the mountain, so I wasn't like flying by it. Apparently he didn't look in his mirror and all of a sudden, no turn signal, just veers into my lane, slams, I was in my wife's Dodge Journey at the time, slams it into the cement median, so I'm now stuck dragging with him.
So this is like Lethal Weapon 2.
Like one side's on the median, the other side's stuck on his rear wheels, and I'm just dragging with him with my foot on the brake, like white knuckling the steering wheel. I'm telling you right now, you don't go under.
No.
And my wife...
Well, Dodge Journey's a minivan though, right?
Basically the same size, and all she said was, why didn't you beep? Well, my foot was on the brake and my hands were not letting go of that steering wheel, so...
Well, I'm glad you lived. Or
Dude, that was some scary shit.
Yeah, somehow the TX has a flamethrower now as well. Because her primary weapon's been broken, so she needs to test out another one. So she tests out a flamethrower.
Yep.
I like how the one guy saw that. The driver.
The truck driver, he just gets back
he's
in.
like, no, fuck this, I'm out.
He gets up and leaves.
Nope, I'm out. There's a lot more comedy in this movie.
Oh, so much. So much.
Way more than the last two.
Well, see, a lot of reviews that I read, people said this is a parody of a Terminator movie. People hate this movie.
So after they get away here, they steal an RV. They're going to go on a trip. We learn some secrets. Kate learns that she's supposed to get with John and make babies, and she's supposed to be in the Resistance. We learn that this T-800 Model 101 killed John Connor in the future. He finally infiltrated using his emotional attachment. So Kate and the Resistance captured the T-800. Kate reprogrammed him to go in the past, and it will only listen to what she says. Because John's like, no, we're going to go do this. And he's like, no, we're not going to do this. He does like the whole, well, screw this. I'll just shoot myself. And he's like, well, judging by your pupil dilation, the skin temperature.
It's like there's a 30% chance that you'll do it.
So basically you're a pussy and you're not going to do it. And then Kate's like, no, we should go do this. And he's like, okay. I was like, wait a minute, what? And then you learn that, it has to listen to Kate.
And what do they want to go do? They want to try and go to her father.
Go save Daddy, because Daddy's running Skynet.
Even though he's pretty much at ground zero, according to the Terminator, of a bomb.
Yeah, he's like...
you will die if you go here.
she's like, we need to go do it. And he's like, we'll get there in like 2 hours and 15 minutes, depending on traffic.
Yeah.
Traffic patterns, he might say. So then we shoot back to the dad, and this virus has been going on, which I guess we didn't mention. This virus, so Skynet's the only thing apparently that can stop this virus.
There's a super virus that's affecting all computer systems.
I assume he's on the phone with the president, because the president's like, tell me right now, will this stop it? He's like, yes, this will stop it. He's like, you can stop it. Once it stops it, you can stop Skynet, right? He's like, well, yeah, I could do that. And he goes, well, then do it. Well, obviously that was the bad decision. So as soon as he does that, who shows up, Josh? Kate Brewster, right? Not Kate Brewster. It's the Terminatrix. Somehow she got there first. I don't know how she got there 2 minutes before the RV. But then, you know, our group shows up to stop them. What's cool about this, though, what I thought is you get to see all these other Terminators that you've kind of heard about or sort of alluded to in the other ones. The Hunter Killer.
Yeah.
You see the baby Hunter Killer, which you don't really know is a Hunter Killer until T4, but whatever. You get to see the Hunter Killer.
See, like literally the first model.
T1. Are they called the T1-1-8?
It is T1-2, T1-3.
Yeah, they're like Johnny Fives or like 1 through 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Johnny 5 was cooler, but I mean, these things are actually, they look mean. They reminded me of the old RoboCop, like the first RoboCop movie. Like those kind of weird looking killing machines. I don't know why anybody thinks, okay, so if you're going to make Skynet, but why are you making these legit killing robots? Whoever thinks killing robots is going to be a good idea?
Let's just put a couple chain guns on them. Yeah. So, yeah. They never really say where the super virus came from either. Do you think it was...
Well, it was Skynet.
Was it Skynet that was...
Skynet from the beginning.
It was acting as a virus?
Yeah, but... True, yes, that is the answer, but you never understand how did Skynet get to become the virus in the first place.
Like, how did it get out?
If it was already self-aware, why did it fuck around and not just... Like, if it could fuck around... Like, you tell me the firewalls were... Because at the one point, the guy's like, oh, the firewalls are good enough. You know, Chris Chadwick, is it? And before he got canceled in this movie. The G4 or something he was on.
Something, yeah.
Nerdist. He was the Nerdist dude.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, he's in there. Yeah, it just, there's a lot of plot hole-ish nonsense babble that don't make a lot of sense here.
However, we do get some pretty awesome fight scenes.
But you also get a Terminator who has his head almost detached, and then you see his like rubbery arms grabbing it and putting it back on.
Yeah. After she puts the nanites in him.
Oh, of course.
Because, I mean, how do we not know what's about to happen there?
I like so much sci-fi is just answered by nanites. I love it. Well, I mean, that was my answer with the T-1000.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Yeah, so we get some pretty awesome fight scenes. We do find out that Skynet is essentially fully self-aware. It just needs connected, so to speak. Like, it needs that door opened. And as soon as they do it, that's it. There's no putting, what do they call it?
Pandora cannot go back in the box at this point. Or whatever Pandora opened.
Opening Pandora's box, yeah.
You can't put it back in. Yeah, so, and then you get the T-800 tries to kill John Connor. I mean, he's really close to doing it, but he's like, you're like, what's your mission? He's like, to protect John Connor. He's like, you're going to fail your mission. And he's like, okay, well, I guess you're right.
That was like the weird equivalent of appealing to somebody's...
Martha.
Like, empathy. Yeah.
This was the Martha before the Martha. I mean, Arnold...
I didn't like that.
I like Arnold as an actor. I do. I mean, he's already looked a little bit older, and he's like kind of shaking his head back and forth, and then he just starts smashing the hood of the car out of rage or frustration. Then he
shuts himself down and turns back on, and everything's good. Well, if that was the case, then why didn't you do that when you knew you had been hijacked?
He couldn't self-restart. I don't know.
And when he came back up, why didn't the nanites just turn back on?
Josh, let's stop asking questions we don't want answers to. Yeah, so Kate, who took flying lessons from her poor dad that didn't make it through all this battle, they go to Crystal Peak, where her dad says to go, and like, oh yeah, we'll be safe there.
No, he said that's where you can shut it all down.
No, he never actually says what to do. He just, as he's dying, he's like, go to Crystal Peak. He never actually says.
See, I could have swore that he basically said, like, that's where you need to go. That's the central
I think that John was inferring that that's where he needed to go. And even in Terminator's like, it's a secure facility, but he doesn't say that's where the central core is, you know, because there is no fucking central core. That's the whole thing here.
It's everywhere.
It's in the software. Yeah, so eventually, though, you do get a cool final battle. The TX and the T800 do eventually do one final duel at Crystal Peak. And I thought the fight scene was I thought it was pretty cool.
After she crashes a plane into the entrance. And
yes, after that part, yes. I see that eye roll. Listen, there's a lot of eye rolling in this movie.
Oh, so much.
I like how you let me do the ranting on the ones we don't like. I feel like I've been talking for 20 minutes now. So
I mean, like, there's a scene where like he grabs her from behind and she like does a split with her legs, wraps him around, turns her head around. Like,
I thought it was cool.
What? And then I feel like this was completely ripped off later by Transformers when they had the female Transformer.
Oh, Michael Bay?
Yes.
Michael Bay did see T3. It all goes back to T3 for him. Yes, yeah. So they get to Crystal Peak. They realize that this is not the central core. This is like an old ass bunker for like Nixon or something.
This is like something out of Fallout.
Yeah,
like old school bunker.
Yeah. And Skynet does its thing. Rockets get sent off with nuclear rockets, warheads, and the world starts blowing up.
The coolest scene in this whole movie, though, was the little kid looking out the airplane window and just seeing a nuke flying by.
Yeah. Wow, poor kid.
Like, how do you decide where to land?
Oh, well, man, where would you go? Because once the radiation gets into the air, well, it depends on how high the bomb is dropped into the air.
Well, even at that, like, you're probably watching everything get bombed.
Antarctica. Go towards Antarctica.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to nosedive.
To Antarctica. Yeah, so that's T3.
Well, hey, if there's that super virus, how do we know that it didn't already take over the airplane?
Yeah.
And they said, like, everything was compromised. Why would there be a plane in the air then if everything's compromised? And was it only in America or was it worldwide at this point?
Well, as they say in T2, that we are forced to shoot on Russia and then Russia shoots back. I think the virus only it makes America attack everybody, so everybody attacks us and then they attack themselves, and instead of it just taking over like, okay, if the internet is worldwide, the virus should be everywhere. It should be from Australia to New York to Budapest. It should be everywhere.
Yes, we know this, but do they?
I don't know. They were still running. I was running Kmart Blue Light Internet when this movie came out, probably. So who knows?
I did like, though, about the movie is the fact that they really pushed that no matter what you do,
it's inevitable.
Yes, it's going to happen.
Yeah, they kind of go with that premise. They kind of run with it from here on out. That there's no more stopping Judgment Day. That's just not going to happen. So, Josh, now that we've wrapped up kind of like what happened from beginning to the end of the movie and spoiled it for everybody, what kind of behind the scenes trivia, Easter egg type shit you got going on for us, bud?
Well, I can tell you that Arnold Schwarzenegger returned for a reported salary of $29.25 million.
It's a lot of cheddar.
That made him the highest, or one of the highest paid actors of the time.
He's the 80s, 90s box office champion. He got the title in WWF.
True.
Back in the day.
Like I said, James Cameron did not direct Terminator 3. Jonathan Mostow took over.
What else did he direct?
Nothing good, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I've never heard of him. I've watched the movie, I didn't even heard of him.
For the part of the TX, or the, what'd you say, Terminatrix?
Yes.
Schwarzenegger tried to get them to cast China from, was it WWF, WWE?
Yeah, WWF.
I did never watch
DX.
Okay.
Generation X.
But apparently...
Tony Lawler.
But I guess there were some issues with...
Something like that.
The owner at the time...
Vinnie Mac.
Bad-mouthing her in some Hollywood circles, and so nobody would let her be cast.
Oh, he's not a controversial figure at all that's ever done anything mean against women.
Also considered for the part of the TX, other than China, was Famke Janssen.
Oh, Famke Janssen would have fucking killed it. No offense to Kristanna Loken, but Famke Janssen would have murdered this role.
Oh, yeah. I absolutely
She is a phenomenal actress.
Yes. And coming fresh out of the Fast and the Furious franchise, there was talks of actually rewriting the role for a male and casting Vin Diesel.
So instead of The Rock versus Vin Diesel, we would have got Schwarzenegger, Vin Diesel.
Yes.
Even though The Rock had already been in a movie with Schwarzenegger. Okay.
Originally, Terminator 3 was set up to be a 2-part movie. Part 1 was going to deal with what we saw, the leading up to and the final, execution of Judgment Day. And then part 2 was going to focus on basically the beginnings of the war. So not the big flash forwards like we would get, but it'd be like probably, in my mind, it's like day 1, day 2 type of thing.
So we're going to get a Walking Dead only with Terminators.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
But they didn't do it.
Thank goodness.
Yes, seriously.
I don't need that. I don't need day 1 stuff. Though I've heard that this new, what's that alien movie that's out now where you can't speak or talk? The Quiet Place.
Yes.
Part 1. I heard the new one's pretty good. But
I did really like those movies. So I'm excited to see the first one. Prequel.
Yeah, it's a prequel. They did the original and then they did prequel and now it's a prequel to that one. They're going in reverse order.
Did you know Arnold Schwarzenegger was 55?
I did. Yeah,
while filming this movie,
you could tell he was getting a little bit older.
Yeah, it said that he had to go through like very extensive physical training to get back in shape.
I remember seeing reports like back then, like in the magazines and stuff, or on Entertainment Tonight, back when you couldn't just Google something right away, of him like actually working out and really, really trying to get back to his old physique. And he did for a 55-year-old. He looked pretty damn good.
Oh, absolutely.
Pretty damn good.
The film was actually supposed to release a couple of years previous, but it had been delayed due to legal and financial issues. I couldn't really find any specifics, but I'm guessing a lot of it probably had to do with them pushing James Cameron out.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be made mid to late 90s and didn't come out until, 03. So, give or take, I remember reading it was something like 4 to 6 years behind. Linda Hamilton, did you notice she was not in this movie?
She was not?
She declined the role because she felt that Sarah Connor's character arc had been completed in the first 2 films and that there was really nothing left for her to do. Apparently, the original script had her in it and had the TX killing her, like snapping her neck at one point.
So that was like a Michael Myers killing Laurie Strode type deal.
I guess it was supposed to be like an ultimatum, John, do this or I'm going to kill her. And of course he has to pick humanity. So she gets sacrificed and she felt that it cheapened her role. It cheapened the entire story of Sarah Connor. And she just didn't feel that was a proper send off. So didn't come back. And obviously you can't recast her. Well, you could have. They do. But at the time they didn't.
And it's probably for the best back then.
As you probably already knew, Arnold and actually Kristanna Loken performed the majority of their own stunts. It seems like it's a prerequisite to be a Terminator. You have to be willing to do your own stuff.
I mean, she seemed like she was in decent shape and, there's nothing really wrong with her. It's just some of the choices that they had the character, not her per se, but the character itself do. I'm like, what?
I agree.
Like they go, how did we move past the whole particle accelerator? I'm pretty sure I had that in my notes somewhere. They go past the particle accelerator, the mini CERN, and she gets like stuck to it.
They turn it on and the magnet sticks her to it.
Nothing happens to them whatsoever.
All the metal and weapons you have on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plot armor. And then, of course, Dr. Peter Silberman, played by Earl Bowen, is the only person to make an appearance in all 3 films other than Schwarzenegger. And sadly, that is the last time we see him.
I assume he's probably passed on by now, right? Do you think he's still kicking?
I don't know.
Never looked him up. I don't really know him for much of anything else. He played in a couple random 80s things, but...
He definitely reminds me of one of those people that are typecast as a cop of some sort.
A cop or just kind of like a principal type.
Yeah. Well, so we had to wait 12 years to get a sequel. How long do you think it took us to get another sequel after this?
I don't know. You'll have to find out in part 2. Yeah, listen, folks. We initially wanted to do this all as one, but there's too much. There's
too much amazingness to cram into one episode.
There's too much liquid metal. We couldn't siphon it all into one episode. So
we are going to call it here, and we will be back in 2 weeks with part 2 covering Terminator 4, 5, and 6.
Yep. The ones with Batman in it.
That took me a minute, but yeah, I got you. So remember, you can always catch us outside of the podcast as well on social media.
How about that?
On Facebook, Instagram, and X. Please talk to us. Give us your theories. We love when people interact with us. We believe it or not, we do reply pretty much directly. I guess it'd be safe to say pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your fan theories. Shoot them out there. Let us know what you think. If you're really enjoying this podcast, please feel free to drop by patreon.com/treeofgeek for $5 a month. You can join our Patreon. We can talk directly. There's a chat system on there now. You can give us your feedback. You can take part in our polls as well as surveys and other fun stuff to figure out what episodes we're going to do next, as well as provide your input for upcoming episodes. Great example is when we did Crossing Swords, you could have put your input in on who would have won what face-off. If you didn't, well, you can't complain about the results, can you?
All I know is there was an Arnold Schwarzenegger type character somewhere in there. They went pretty far.
Yep. Conan, he made it a little ways. You also get a shout out at the end of every episode. So, John, thank you so much for being a subscriber. We appreciate it, and we can't wait to have you on again. And Unconfined You, thank you so much for being our first and only paid subscriber. Really appreciate it, and keep on listening. But that is going to wrap up part 1 of the Geekinators. I think that's what we decided to call this.
Geekinators, yes.
For this week, I am Josh saying take care, everyone.
Goodbye. Hasta la vista.
Baby.
Baby. And by the way, this is part 1 of part 2 episodes. It's too much to do in 2, so we're gonna do it in 1. You two got that? Do it. Do it now. Get to the pod.